No.
So Kate and then Brett.
And Craig is running a little
Craig's
bit
late.
late.
Yeah.
This is the April 27th 2023 Planning Board session. And so we have a call to order. Gloria?
Chair LaFaro.
Present.
The Vice Chair Finnerty is absent. Secretary is here. Board Member Catalinato, I understand, will be a few minutes late. Board Member Mutu.
Present.
Board Member Neely.
Present.
Board Member Fulham is absent.
Great.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join us for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. Just item, if you have your agendas, I think it's item 25 is off.
Okay, I'll put it, number 3, James Fritz.
Is off,
Sorry, yes,
is off the agenda.
right to the agenda.
Yeah,
Yes,
number
number,
3.
the 3, James Fritz is off. And, number 17. And number 25. And 24.
Okay, so 17 is 917 West, yeah, we have to identify
Oh, I'm
these for
sorry.
the
Because
records.
they're not matching the numbers that we had.
Okay,
Right.
so then.
At the
James
microphone.
Fritz is off.
Jane, is it
Jane Frith was old 2.
Anthony, do you want to just come up so they get it on the,
It was old to number 2, and now it's number 3.
Yeah, on this
Okay.
agenda, I see it as number 3.
So that's off, okay, and then
And then number 17, 917 West Main LLC. This is the completeness.
let me just see what that
That was
was.
number 16.
Right, they're all a number off,
Okay.
okay? And then what's the next one, Anthony?
And then
20,
for me, it was number on the new agenda, 25, 917 West Main LLC under secret.
oh gosh, it's a
24.
broke, it's a
That was
broke,
all 24.
yeah.
Gotcha. And your Scuttle Hole's off, you said?
Yes.
Okay. So on the new one, it's 24, 246 Scuttle Hole Road. Site disturbance
Okay.
restoration, that's off.
That's off. Okay, so we have 4 off. Okay, so going in order, Jeff, you're first.
Yes, so item number 2. 4 and 6 Oak Drive, it's a pre-application report. This is found in your packet on page number 11.
We have something up on the screen, yeah.
This is-
Okay. Thank you. Oops. Sorry. Okay, Jeff, yeah, we've got it.
Okay, so this application was last before the board February 9th for a pre-application conference or public hearing. This project proposes 2-lot subdivision, standard plan, at the address located at 4 and 6 Oak Drive on the hamlet of Noyak.
Can you make the map larger?
Sure. Just to orient you, this property is just a few hundred feet away from Cromer's Market.
Uh-huh, oh, yes.
Off of
Yes,
Noyak
yes,
Road.
yes.
Is it
Yeah,
on
we had a
the
public
other-
hearing on this.
Correct.
Yeah, is it on the other side of Noyak Road?
Yes, on the north side of Noyak Road.
Okay.
And this is
And this
where
lo-
the issues with the buses,
Exactly.
yes, parking.
Exactly, turnaround. So the applicant is proposing to essentially reestablish single and separate 2 individual lots that were merged. They were held in the same name. Essentially, I believe they were merged back in 1958. The applicant would be required to go in front of the ZBA for lot area as well as some frontage, the lot width, which I'll skip over to page number 3 in your packet.
In the report, you
In the
mean?
report, excuse me. So yeah, the proposed subdivision requires relief from ZBA to reestablish single and separate status. The relief would include 125 feet, where 150 feet is required for lot 1
In width?
in width, in lot width. And then also, for lot 2, they'll also require lot area relief, where the existing lot is sized at 8,696 square feet, where 40,000 is required. I'll reiterate, the lot itself is located in R40 zoning, which requires 40,000 square feet in lot area. Lot number 1, I believe that's actually incorrect. So lot number 2 on the plan is 5,218 square feet, where 40,000 is required, so they'd require a variance for that as well. Property is located in the New York State Archaeological Sensitive Area, so generally we require a Phase 1 or Phase 1B archaeological report.
Anthony, I just want to interrupt you. One lot is 4,000 square feet and one is
So-
5,000 square feet, and they're in 40,000 square foot
Yeah.
zone?
Correct. So in totality, both lots are 13,914 square feet. They were single separate lots. They were prescribed lots, or described lots, held in the same name, unfortunately. And the applicant wanted to subdivide them so that she could build on the second lot where the one-story garage is currently on. The existing subdivision community, which I'll show you right now.
Madam Chair, Board Member Catalinato is here.
Welcome, Craig.
The community itself is comprised of smaller subsized lots. This would most likely be the smallest lot if approved amongst the community itself along Oak Drive. We did, during our February 9th public hearing, received a lot of comments from the public. Those comments included, which I'll list off for you. Density is a major issue within the community. More density on Oak Drive would pose a safety concern. Oak Drive is essentially a dead-end street, but still has traffic issues. And the proposed Lot 2 is significantly undersized in comparison to the existing lots within the community. Some of the comments were about having issues with turnaround, people utilizing Oak Drive for turnaround off of Noyak Road to access either Cromwell's Market or some neighboring restaurants. So we
And
can-
also, you should have included the school bus stop. The school bus stops at that
right at the
corner, so people can't even get out of that road. It's a very constricted,
Right, so in totality, that's the
Parcel.
sentiments, yeah.
Yeah.
We received from the public regarding the subdivision itself. Again, the requested action would require ZBA approval. It's pretty straightforward, as the size of the lots don't meet R40's dimensional regulations. But as far as the board's concerned, we received comments back from engineering. Engineering comments were, they recommended a covenant requiring 3-inch drainage for all future impervious surfaces, including roofs, driveways, and tennis courts. Also recommended a covenant requiring both lots to access from Oak Drive and that no access may be taken from Noyak Road. Also recommend that no access be taken from Oak Drive within 50 feet of the intersection with Noyak Road for traffic safety concerns. And
Are
the
they-
final, sorry?
I'm sorry, where are you?
So I'm sorry, we're at the
Page 4.
engineering division, which is
Page-
on page 3
Page
of the
4.
report.
Jeff, could you show us where 50 feet would be
Sure,
on the-
let's measure it.
on that map?
That's 56. Not sure you can see this. But this is essentially where 50 feet would land you from the center line. If I took it from the edge of the road,
I guess I should have
It's
said
right
from, I
here.
think I said from the map, not,
from the map.
because it's,
Yeah, the map I won't be able to tell is it's not to scale, but I could kind
Okay,
of give you some
yeah.
perspective.
I'm wondering, I don't know
50
what
feet
your-
is not a lot, essentially.
Pardon?
50 feet is not really a lot, nor does it actually even reach the second proposed lot on the subdivision map.
Yeah, the first lot is.
So access for
125
that
feet.
wouldn't even be at the nearest corner of that of that proposed lot number 2 on the subdivision map. So 50 feet is essentially right around here.
I mean, the lot's 125 feet, so
Right, so 50 feet's
if
right
you
around
take
here.
it from the lot line, it's, what, 40% of the way up
Yeah, so 50 feet would be right
that
around
piece
there.
of property?
But the town engineer recommended from 50 feet from, just make sure I quote it correctly.
From the
50
street?
feet
From the intersection of the two roads.
of the intersection with Noyak Road for the safety concern. So essentially 50 feet would land you right around here.
I guess what I'm questioning is,
Sure.
I don't know what the plans of the owner is, but there's a house there and there's a garage there
Correct.
on 2 separate lots.
Correct.
Right.
If that house stays, where is the driveway in relation to the engineer's recommendation?
Okay, let me go back to the proposed map. So existing
So the-
driveway,
Yeah, so the garage appears to be about 100 feet
correct.
from the intersection.
But the garage itself is located on
On the second
proposed
piece of
lot 2,
property.
which is the second proposed lot on this subdivision map.
And it looks like there's a driveway on the front lot from Noyak Road.
It looks like a paved walkway.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more of a paved walkway off of Noyak Road. So essentially, if they move forward with the application for subdivision, they would have to delineate where they're going to propose their driveway for the first lot.
Well, I think that has to be included.
So
And
we're
I want to make the
definitely add that.
recommendation
Sure.
that number 2 become number 1,
Mm-hmm.
and that we say that the proposed subdivision results in 2 very undersized lots
Right.
Okay.
with substantial square footage relief.
Yep.
I think that has to be number 1.
Okay.
I mean, that second lot is 1/8 the size of what the zoning
Right,
requires.
yeah.
There is currently a ZBA application pending. just so you know.
Okay,
They're waiting on the planning board's report.
Correct.
okay, so it should be very clearly stated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that the ownership was not separated, in my opinion, is the only reason to even look at this.
I didn't hear the first thing you said. I'm
I
sorry.
said, the fact that it merged, it's no longer
Correct.
single and separate, is the only reason to say, well, maybe they are entitled to 2 lots, because the existing lot is substandard,
Correct.
and that's grandfathered, but the 2 separate lots are
wonder-
not.
I wonder
Yeah.
legally how that is. I
Uh,
mean, once something merges, then you have to go through the subdivision process. So,
Yeah, there were previously individual lots, pre-1958, if I'm correct on that. And they wanted to reestablish that. Obviously, in 1958 had different zoning than today's zoning. But we have to look at it.
right,
with
we have
today's
to look at
zoning
it now,
concerns.
and also how the neighborhood has changed and developed.
Absolutely.
So I think that you need to be more detailed, and particularly if they're waiting for the planning board report.
Sure, sure, don't,
APOD. It's in the APOD.
And it's in the APOD.
correct.
Yeah,
So,
which is why it was upzoned, I'm sure.
Now, both lots are essentially improved. The one-story garage, obviously, as part of the subdivision, would have to be demolished or removed. But as we've stated already, there's both substandard lots, even with them being merged. So I'll add the additional information and comments from the board. If there's anything else you'd like me to add.
Question,
Sure.
Jeff, and I don't know if you have it offhand, but are all the other lots on the street substandard? Or
They are substandard,
mix?
but not necessarily to this degree. I believe when I did an analysis of the community, I think the smallest lot was around 15,000 square feet. So I'd go back and double check, but this would essentially, lot number 2 on this subdivision map would definitely be the smallest lot.
Okay, so just be very precise in
Absolutely.
your language.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other comments on this application? So as amended,
As amended?
a motion to approve the,
Pre-application?
right. Are any of these things action deadlines? I don't see any action deadlines on anything.
Yes, it's on the agenda.
Extended.
4 and 6 Oak Drive,
Correct.
I don't see action deadline
Action
on it.
deadline, April
Is it?
12th, extended to April 27th.
Okay, all right. It didn't, it's buried in there.
Yeah, I'll highlight next time for you.
Next time, okay? So motion to approve it as amended. If you would send us the amended report.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Motion by Gloria, second by George. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay,
Number 2, is that you?
so. So what's number 1? That was number 2.
Lorraine, just if I may, as a little aside, not having to do with this application per se, but you raised the question about the merger, right, and that being a consideration. So interestingly, an applicant has an option to go to the zoning board to get a single and separate determination. There is a method for them to do it absent the planning board. So if they don't go to the zoning board or they're not successful in getting a determination made that these in fact are considered single and separate, because they have to demonstrate that that's what the intent was, that to keep them single and separate, then they're stuck going through the subdivision process. So I just wanted to let you know that there in fact is a mechanism for them to unmerge properties.
Which
You know,
they have not.
no,
this
they submitted a
applicant-
subdivision application and are doing variances for the zoning
Okay.
board, yeah. So we're doing number
3 is off.
3 is off, number 4, Griner, Joseph. Let me get to him. I'm gonna have to,
Page 38.
it is page 38, yep, let me just. Bear with me. Must be addressing 24 housing. Okay, I think I have it here. All right.
Full disclosure, Madam Chair, the Greiners are close personal friends of mine in the family, but I don't think, I think I could look at this application without prejudice.
I think so. Yes.
So this is
Thank you,
a
Greg.
request for a covenant amendment.
Page 38.
There's nothing in here.
There's nothing in the, in the packet,
Really?
It's-
there's a
it's
map,
There's a map.
but
and
there's no text,
And there's no text.
no report.
There is no, because there's no action. This is a discussion of request for a covenant amendment before we do a resolution. I always have them come in to see if you're even
Okay.
gonna do it. So this is a covenant amendment. A subdivision was done. What's that? 2009. So 2009, if you can see up here, there was a 2-lot subdivision that created this piece here, and I believe the piece to the south here. It was a 2-lot subdivision. At that time, a buffer was required along this property line. I believe it was,
Is this where the bamboo is in?
that's where the bamboo is now. It's all overtaken by bamboo, but it was the only buffer, I mean, that was part of the subdivision that was required. There's no other buffers in the neighborhood. The applicant, the owner of the property has bamboo that's growing in here. They wanted to go in there and take care of that, but it's a 25-foot wide non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer.
I see.
Interestingly, when this subdivision was done, this house was there at the time, so I couldn't figure out why at that time that the full 25-foot buffer was imposed. But needless to say, the applicant wanted to go in there and correct this, so I believe Jim Hume is here. They wanted to see if the board would either A, eliminate the 25-foot buffer, or at least reduce it if they weren't willing to eliminate it. And so I had
Did
Jim.
we ever find out if the town has,
No, I don't think we'll find out. about
okay,
the-
invasive
Yep, yep.
species, yeah.
So, good afternoon. For the applicant, James N. Hume, 323 Mill Road, West Hampton Beach, New York. As indicated, there is, I think it's, yes, there is imposed on this property as part of the subdivision from 2009, a 25-foot wide buffer. I reviewed the record to the best of my abilities and couldn't find any basis for why this buffer was imposed. It was, I believe, on the internal lot line between the two lots that were created. So it's a buffer between Lot 1 and Lot 2. There's no wetlands, there's no indication that there was any particular species that was being protected. There was no indication that it was near any wetlands or any other feature as to why the buffer was imposed. And as indicated, the buffer area is, and as I've indicated in my application, the buffer area has become overrun with bamboo. It's because it's a non-disturbance, so can't control it, just making life difficult for my clients in general without having any specific reason for why it was imposed in the first place.
Did you say that the buffer, as best you can figure out, was imposed because of the two-lot subdivision? Because the
Yes.
lot below is to the south.
Jim, these are, the
That's-
lot created this lot and this lot, but the
Right.
buffer is between
It's a
this
different,
lot.
That one,
different
I'm
buffer.
sorry, yes, not the internal, but, yeah, but it was created as part of the two-lot subdivision.
Yep, that's correct.
It was a condition of that subdivision. And as indicated, I've been involved in situations where there were conditions that warranted a buffer, but I don't see that any of those conditions existed at the time that this was granted, and certainly don't exist today.
So if you take out the 25 feet, what would you do? Would you plant anything in there?
I think it would just become part of their yard. I imagine they might install something just to maintain the privacy, but.
Yes, that's what I was asking.
Jim, are they looking to go in and remove the bamboo that's there?
Well, I think what they're looking for is to have the restrictions of the buffer removed completely. But one of the motivating factors is the fact that it's become overrun with an invasive species.
And it grows and grows and
It
grows.
does,
Like that?
it does. And I think they would like to just make it part of their property, part of
Yeah.
their yard.
Yeah.
Looks like on the south side, there's not a required buffer, but it looks like they have hedgerows or some kind of heavy.
Yes.
uh,
Right. With that, that
So
was
they
just
might-
the landscaping that they chose to.
They
to
might
put
want to
in
do that
place.
same thing back up on the north, right?
They may. I mean, I can inquire as to what more detailed plans they might have, but in general, we're looking to have the requirement removed.
So the
from
foliage that
property.
you want to remove is all bamboo?
I don't know what else might be in there. It's just kind of a mess. And they wanted to be able to treat it as the rest of their property.
Right, I understand. We typically don't want to remove buffers if we don't understand why they were imposed. Is that the aerial? Anthony?
Yeah, it's just an aerial, just the bird's eye view. I'll give you a sense of that. Everything's ornamental in this neighborhood, clearly.
Hmm?
We don't have bamboo.
No restrictions yet, yeah.
DEC
It is
doesn't
primarily
either, which is
bamboo in there.
It's strange, yeah, it
It's just
is an
very-
invasive species.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think that we could reduce the buffer, take it down to what, 10 feet?
10 feet, or you
Yeah.
could ask that they, maybe, or you put up some type of hedgerow or something to
Yeah,
create,
right,
something.
exactly. Some
Might be better.
delineation.
Something like that, if the restriction were eliminated completely, subject to a condition where we provide some kind of a landscape buffer along the property line, that would be fine.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. Is everybody okay with that?
Something that they,
Are we
Obviously,
conditioning this and then removing
you would
the
require
bamboo
that
as
they
well?
maintain it, but
Yeah,
obviously something that they can
I
maintain.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
Because
It's not, the town code doesn't require it as an invasive species, but we should say, remove the bamboo. I mean, I don't know if it's coming from you or it's coming from your neighbor. Because
Looks like
the
it's mostly on the
rhizomes go
property.
right under fencing, goes
Yes, they
right.
do.
Goes under concrete, under
Yeah, under
roadways,
coop
everything.
right.
Well, they're gonna get rid of all of it, except they're going to then install like a barrier or
Yeah.
perimeter thing, so
Something to
they'll get rid of the
maintain
bamboo.
some privacy
Listen,
from.
we're not gonna issue the resolution today, so what
Okay.
we'll do is, now that I know, I'll prepare something for the next time, I'll draft some language and we'll
Good.
we'll have a further
That'll be
discussion.
Fair, fair enough,
Thank
Anthony.
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Jeff, see that?
Good to see you all.
Thank you. Good to see you.
See, Jeff?
So we're, Flying Point Road, 14 Flying Point Road,
All right, 14.
page 41.
And this is an action deadline too, Jackie.
Oh, let's see.
It says so. on the
It says
first-
action deadline, and we don't have a report in the packet. Was there some trouble with Minitrack this week?
The large, the document size for some reason isn't cramming it.
Yeah,
So the more we add, the worse it is.
right, well, maybe there's got a way to figure out the maps that are included, because when they come in really small, it's of no value
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
So if it reduces the size of the file, think about that.
We're short.
Do you have another one? Great, great.
All right, 14 Flying Point. It's a proposed two-lot subdivision located in CR 60 zoning district, only within the Ag Overlay District. Size-wise, it's 2.08 acre lot.
Can
or-
you give us a map? We have the
Sure.
text, but we need a visual.
Is there a
Where they
reason why
already
this
built the houses.
monitor is not being used?
That's Jackie.
Who's back
This
there?
is the one where they
Not
already
sure who's
built
back
the
there.
houses.
Oh, right, right.
Okay, 14 Flying Point Road. So the pre-application considers action on the property located in CR60, as we mentioned. The predominant land use class in this area is residential single-family dwellings. And south of there is the Hampton Business Zoning District. The applicants requested the two-lot subdivision of proposed Lot 1, which contains 26,154 square feet, and proposed Lot 2, which contains 64,113.3 square feet. This application's been before the board a couple of times. They were before the ZBA.
Get larger. It's impossible to see.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping if it was closer, I'd be able to see it.
There you are.
Let me see,
That's good,
actually.
Jeff. So,
Let me just rotate it. for
so
you.
it, so this is the only one to see. Okay, so just make the maps as large as you can so we can see them.
There you go. That's
There
better.
we go, okay.
Try to squeeze everything in there. Okay, so this application has been before the ZBA for approval, special use permit to allow the relocation of what is now designated as the Diamond Family Farmhouse. They received town board landmarks, the historic landmark designation as such. They are now before our board to complete the subdivision application process. They are also given ZBA approval for lot area and lot width variances as long as front, side yard, and accessory structure setbacks. I won't to bear you all the reading material here. I won't read off every single item, but on page 3 in the report, you could see everything that was approved by the zoning board.
So they're various, oh, wow.
As part of,
This is that property
correct, the Diamond House.
just north of the application we had for the welding people.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Across the street,
immediately
Yeah.
north of it, yes.
But they're,
across the street.
yes, but there's the budding property on the corner of Flying Point Road and County Road 39. The welding people were wanting to
Yeah.
put,
Correct, no, you're
So,
absolutely correct.
I'm verbalizing what I'm now remembering, because I was thinking this was on the other side of the highway.
Ah,
It's
okay.
on the
No,
north side.
you're absolutely correct. As far as the application's concerned,
So can you just go over has the ZBA issued these variances?
yes.
So what,
everything's-
just briefly, what are they?
Sure. So the ZBA granted for principal front yard setback, 60 feet where 80 feet is required.
Okay,
Principal rear yard setback, 62.8, where 100 feet is required. And that's primarily for the historical landmark, the Diamond Family Farmhouse. For an accessory side yard setback of 22.4, where 30 feet is required. And that's for the proposed pool house. For an accessory side yard setback of 24.8 inches, where 30 feet is required for the proposed detached garage. And now on proposed lot 2, the principal front yard setback, 60 feet, where 80 feet is required. And the principal rear yard setback of 69.4 inches, where 100 feet is required for the proposed dwelling.
And that's the new house that's being built.
Correct. That's essentially built, yes.
Jeff, do you have an aerial of the new?
I don't have an area of the new house, no.
okay, so there's mostly setback relief.
Essentially, setback relief, correct. When we proceed, there's a bunch more.
Well, we don't need the details of it, they're mostly
Sure,
setbacks.
sure.
Want me to, it just,
Yeah.
I'll come up, and I'll,
No, go ahead, be my guest.
with this, and I
Yes,
started.
yes,
So,
please.
this was when the historic structure was being preserved, relocated, and as part of that, they did a 2-lot subdivision, which required a whole bunch of variances, both to create the undersized lots, and then also, mostly for the redevelopment of that new vacant property with all sorts of variances and the rest of it. And they granted the variances, and they've, I believe, started construction and everything also.
Yeah, well, that's,
They're all-
when I
Stone
remembered what it was, all
Yes,
of this
okay.
makes, because the goal was to protect, the house didn't get torn down, that it was landmarked and maintained.
Yeah,
Correct.
for sure.
So the variances are making it economically viable for the owner.
100%.
So again, this application was last before the board for a public hearing February 9th, 2023, and ended with a 10-day written comment period. No written comments were received. Application was also referred to fire prevention. You can have their comments listed. Nothing out of the ordinary was recommended. Obviously, this was also sent back to the Landmark Historic Review Board as part of this application. They reiterated the process in which they essentially designated this as a landmark. And then, of course, engineering had comments. They're recommending 3-inch drain. They're also recommending that final plans meet design requirements of the town of Southampton that pertains to the subdivision, and of course, to engineering and stormwater management. They are also asking that there's an existing hedge, a row of hedges that should be removed that's currently located within the town right-of-way. Some recommendations I've added as part of the review was one particular comment from the Landmark Historic Review Board, which essentially was requesting that the historic house, specifically that lot, be maintained open for public visibility and for anyone passing by via vehicle can enjoy the restoration of that historic house. So I added that as a recommendation, and whether or not the board would like to include that as part of this report as well. Obviously, compliance with all of the ZBA zoning setbacks. And finally, final application must include health department approval, application fee, and obviously all requisite materials associated with.
What about a landscaping plan?
So we can include a landscape plan. This is the landscape plan. I'm not sure how we want to go about it. The project itself was given special permit to essentially build and construct the new lot and obviously restore the Diamond House itself. The project itself is, for the most part, I would say 90% complete. There is no representative here that can add to that.
Well, at least
But
we
we
can
can
review a
include-
landscaping
Yeah,
plan.
absolutely, absolutely. I'll make a
And
recommendation.
then my other question is, did Landmarks want some kind of plaque designation to say that this is a historic house? I mean, how would anybody know driving by?
Yeah, that wasn't recommended in their response. It wasn't part of their comments. But I
You could
agree. I
recommend
agree.
it.
Generally with
Yeah.
landmarks, we do.
Yeah. Who's representing this application?
This is represented by P.W. Grosser Engineering. His name is
No
Brian.
one, and no one's here, right?
No,
Have they seen the report?
they have.
And no comments?
No comments.
Okay. Any other comments on the board? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the pre-application report
Motion.
by George, second by Tom. All in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Kim Lesser, number 6.
Page 44 in the packet.
But there's nothing in the packet.
These reports didn't make it in, yeah. So we're okay, got the right number.
Yeah. Take 2, they're free.
All right. Let me give you a visual. All right, so this proposed project is located at 17 Allison Lane, hamlet of Hampton Bays, zoning district RWB, also located within the high priority water quality area, also a New York State archaeological sensitive area, as well as a wetlands inventory. Site plan itself is for an off-season dry boat storage yard for approximately, or specifically more so, 22 boats in a predetermined area of 11,964 square feet. The property has a pre-existing single-family, one-story dwelling. It's also located 100 feet from the wetlands boundary and does not include any on-site or maintenance of said stored boats. We held pre-submission conference on March 9th, 2023. No comments were received, and we ended it with a 30-day written comment period. As far as the full site plan application, which would include lighting, landscaping, engineering information, if applicable, this site does not propose any structures, but delineating boat storage area for dry boat storage. There was a ZBA decision regarding this to include an additional use, as there was an pre-existing single-family dwelling on site. That use included the requirement, or the use of the boat storage specifically on the subject property, where generally we require one use per 40,000 square feet of lot area. The zoning board granted them the second use. In addition to that, the zoning board also granted them principal rear yard setback of 20 feet where 50 feet is required. And that's essentially the transitional yard from the northern portion of the property, as well as the front yard off of Allison Lane. Some Review elements, we're going to require the applicant to pay attention and essentially comply with all the zoning requirements, the zoning ZBA decision requirements upon full site plan application. Again, the site has the two uses, the single-family dwelling as well as the off-season dry boat storage. SECRA was also, this is an unlisted action under SECRA. And the planning board actually assumed lead agency and issued a neg deck as part of the resolution July 14th, 2022. Again, the site's to remain without any on-site maintenance, repair, storage of liquids, parts, etc. This property also, or this project, will include a wetlands permit upon full site plan review. As far as landscaping is concerned, I believe during our discussion, we wanted to make sure there was some delineation between the boatyard itself and the neighboring properties. So we're requesting some landscaping along the property line, or the northerly property line, as well as the southerly property line. I visited the site myself. And they do have some pretty mature 20, 30-foot size trees off of Allison. So the boatyard area itself is pretty screened, but the board can add more screening if they find it needs it. Parking was not necessarily delineated on this site plan. We are requesting and recommending 12 parking spots along the northerly portion of the lot. To maintain at minimum 10 feet. So I'll change the 20 to 10 feet. Just to accommodate any storage patrons dropping off. And also to maintain parking for the existing single-family dwelling as well, separate from the off-season boat storage use. There is no signage that's proposed on this particular project. But any signage that is proposed, we're recommending that they bring it to the board, of course, for approval. Lighting, we are actually requesting that no lighting be on site, as there's no repair, there's no maintenance of any sort. That's supposed to be actually done on site, so lighting for us wouldn't necessarily be a requirement. And that's about it. Any questions from the board or recommendations?
What's the date of the wetlands boundary?
The date of wetlands boundary is May 8th, 2022.
So it's still compliant,
Yes,
right?
3 years.
And how wide is that driveway?
The driveway, as of right now, I believe is 20 feet wide in width.
Is that sufficient to bring in boats on a trailer?
On a trailer, yeah.
They're small boats, right?
Smaller boats, yeah, because
What was the
22 feet, 22 boats in totality is what's permitted on the site.
Is that
Or
wide
is-
enough? Yeah.
I was gonna ask about the parking, because it seems, I don't recall parking being discussed in previous.
No, it
conversations.
wasn't.
It wasn't.
And that seems kind of, to me, it seems excessive for a
Okay.
use where, you know, people will be coming and drop off booths. 22 booths, 12 parking spots. I mean, that's almost saying that there's gonna be a lot of people appearing at the same time to
Sure.
pick up the booths.
No,
And for
absolutely.
a small area like that, if you're looking at paving the parking, that seems a little bit excessive to me.
I agree.
I agree,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there a-
That was gonna be one of my comments. I mean, it would seem to me that the boats are gonna have to be ushered in,
Correct.
because I'm sure they're going to be tail to nose.
Mhm.
And so, it's not like everybody's gonna come at once. Row one's gonna be here on Monday, and row two maybe Monday afternoon.
I agree.
You know,
Okay.
I mean, that just seems, and I'm not a boat.
I mean, maybe a couple
Is
spots.
there a
with some-
code requirement? One boat equals clear?
Well, you can, the beauty of the code is that if you think the use doesn't need as much parking, you find that it will meet its own parking requirement. So we can definitely put that in, it's a section of the code. So a couple
A
spaces.
couple, and maybe it was a gravel parking and
Yeah.
not like.
Yeah,
Okay.
more
paved
informal
parking, yeah.
than any formal
Okay,
parking, for sure.
so for like 3 or 4 spaces,
Yeah.
so you can just say that, Jeff, and then we can work on the number.
Okay.
when the site plan comes. Okay.
So
yeah.
I just had a comment in reading several articles. The shrink wrap materials that are used in boat yards now are really not being recycled properly and causing tremendous problems because they don't break down, they're not.
Yeah, like single-use
Single,
bags.
right, and so maybe we need to add a sentence in here. What would we want to say, environmental handling of the shrink wrap materials. You probably have some words for that, Craig.
I wish I did.
Yeah, because
They are,
it's a big issue.
right,
Responsible disposal of,
right. Well, these are also smaller boats that
Yeah.
are gonna be trailering in, and oftentimes these boats have boat covers as opposed to the shrink wrap. I'm not saying that these boats aren't gonna have.
right, we
shrink
don't
wrap on
know.
them.
But they may also be taking away from the site shrink wrapped before being put into the water. And then
Right, because I don't believe the site has the ability or.
Is
even-
there a representative here?
Yes, Susanna.
But to your point, it's a problem.
It's a big problem, yeah. So-
Some boat dealerships now are shipping boats with reusable shrink wrap. They have drawstring. So if it's, let's say, a 23-foot boat,
Mm-hmm,
you can loosen it, take it off, following year.
And
you
reuse
can
it.
reuse
right,
so like a boat cover rather than a
yeah,
shrink wrap.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Susanna Herman and consultants for the applicants. First, regarding the parking, I don't think there's any anticipated need for parking. This would be more like valet type system where and this is very informal. People would rent a space, they would come in, the owner of the property would help them place the boat where it needs to go, and then the owner would drive away, leaving the boat on the trailer. So I don't see a need for more than maybe 1 or 2 gravel areas for someone to leave a truck while this process is happening. I don't
We'll
think that's
allow some,
necessary.
yeah, we have to accommodate.
Very
some.
minimal. We have no interest in taking on additional costs for any formalized parking.
Okay.
But a small gravel area for maybe 1 or 2 vehicles might be appropriate. No, I don't think anything more than that would be desirable or appropriate. Rather put the money in landscaping. There's a lot of very mature vegetation along the road. The north and south sides could probably use a little additional landscaping, so that's fine. With respect to boat shrink wrap, I don't have any particular knowledge of this, but I would assume they would be, these are smaller boats, 20 feet, 25 feet, no more than that, which I think mostly would have a cover.
Okay, but if there is, I think we'd put in a phrase that there'd be responsible disposal
That's fine.
of
Right.
one-time shrink wrap.
Some will come in with shrink wrap.
I'm sure
Sure.
some will.
What I would recommend is just not allowing shrink wrapping.
On-site.
On-site, or the removal of on-site. Plus, you don't want people on your lot doing that because it becomes a liability.
Right, right. And there's no access to put the boats in or take them out of the water at this location either.
They just pick up the boat and go.
Take them down the road, yes.
Okay, so, any other comments?
I think that's it.
Great. Any other comments from the board? Okay, so, motion to approve the Kim Wester Boat Storage pre-app report
Motion.
by Gloria.
Second.
Second by Craig, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you. Anthony, Maple Residence, 13 Maple Avenue.
This should be page 51 in the packet, and I believe everything should be there, but,
Another action deadline.
It should say it.
yeah.
We need the
Page
action
51.
deadline in bold first.
Okay, well, it is first, let's say today, the action deadline. Okay. So this is a 2-lot subdivision, 13 Maple Avenue in Hampton Bays, R20 zoning, with a smidgen of the corner of the property in the highway business zone. This is for final conditional approval. You'll see from the map here, not in any clearing overlay districts. Existing residents in the front lot, And then second lot in the back. Pretty straightforward at this point. So I have a resolution here. On the first, is the resolution in the packet?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah is right.
Thank you, Anthony.
It's a miracle. So on the first page of the resolution, we go through the findings. This is a type 2 action under SECRA. We did the final application. We deemed it complete in December. We waived the final hearing with a 30-day written comment period. Just to note, because of the delay from December to now, was I noticed that it wasn't picked up in the pre-app. I didn't do the pre-app, but the lot width for the second lot was off by like 1.5 feet. And so I went into panic mode, because the last thing I want to do is send an applicant to the ZBA when they have health department approval. So that was for the delay, and what we're going to do is we just put a condition here that one of the map changes is fix the lot line instead of going to the ZBA. So we adopted a pre-application report for this in June of 2021, and the map is in agreement with that report. Suffolk County Department of Health Services issued approval for this back in August of last year. And it's not subject to the Long Island Workforce Housing Act. Town engineer came back recommending a 3-inch rainfall, and then he puts in this general requirement now, meeting the design requirements as it pertains to the subdivision regs and stormwater management. Conservation Board came.
Excuse me, what is this that's added now? Is this sort of a general,
It is a general
but it
thing.
doesn't say anything? I mean, it's not specific. I
It's
should
not
say.
specific, so to be quite honest, it is in the resolution, right, because he's made the comment, but really what we're gonna require is that the 3-inch drainage, goes in the covenant. Beyond that, the final plans,
You might,
saying that they have to conform to the code of the town of Southampton is just sort of,
you might ask him why he's
I will,
including that.
that's a good question. But he says in
It's
this,
gonna be the retention of everything on site during construction, after construction, everything that pertains to that.
right,
They
I
need
guess
a
it is,
permit, if they need
this,
to-
his last statement then says there's no site engineering is involved, there are no requirements by this office, so I get what you're saying, Jack, I gotta figure that out. Conservation Board came back, obviously this is all subject to the IA systems now. They're recommending a wooded buffer along the northerly property boundary, and I'll go there with you in a few seconds. Office of Fire Prevention came back, nothing out of the ordinary. They have public water and hydrants. And then the Highway Department recommends that a tip-up be provided to mitigate water runoff. That's fine.
What's a tip-off, whatever?
It was the first time, if you could explain, I tried to look it up.
It's kind of the asphalt curbing, kind of you see on a regular road. There's sometimes now they're adding kind of a little
Curve to it.
2 or 3 inch high or 4 inch high bit of asphalt, a curved
Oh.
bit of asphalt on the
Just to
edge,
contain the water, so it flows
just to keep
along
the
road
water
and
on the
drain.
road.
Yeah.
It's not really a formal curb, that's why they don't call it a curb, but
Keep the
that's what
water
it
on the
is.
road.
It's
Is there drainage?
asphalt that's about that high,
So
right on
that
the
would-
edge of the
so
road,
that would be
that
the
keeps it
driveway?
channeled.
That would be for the driveway?
I have not heard of it going over the driveway, no,
Yeah, I mean,
across the driveway.
I didn't
That's
really
usually
get
along
into the
road.
recommendation there, and I say this only because when a person goes in for a building permit, it also goes
The
to
highway department.
Highway Department, and then at that time, they do their, an engineering, and they
Yeah, I
say
was
what all
just-
the
I-
stormwater.
this is just-
It was new to me, too.
This is a knowledge question.
They may,
100%.
they may be recommending it along a driveway to
That's
keep
what it
the
sounds
water
like.
from running
It sounds
down the
like to
driveway.
Keep it on site.
Right.
Problem with those is they get damaged by the snow plows, and then you have no.
We're lucky we didn't have any snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hampton Fire,
Street is full of
Hampton
all that.
Bays Fire District had no specific recommendations, and the same thing from the Trails Advisory Board. So I recommend approval. Final map revisions, again, adjust the lot line for Lot 2 to meet the minimum lot width of 120 feet. Add a notation on the map regarding covenants and restrictions. The postal addresses for each of the lots have to go on the map, and they need to remove the building envelopes and any proposed structures. As for buffers, so this is what, the Conservation Board is recommending along this northerly property boundary. Now, a couple things, I don't have a problem with it, and the applicant said that, they don't have a problem with it either. This is highway business zoned. I will say, when we did the site plan, there is a transition yard buffer that was required as part of this commercial site plan, which is really where the burden of providing a buffer to an related land use should occur. But there is a 20-foot setback for principal structures for houses on this lot. So if you think the extra 20 feet would be good to protect from the adjacent commercial use, we could absolutely put it in there. That's entirely at this
Kind
board's
of lines
discretion.
up with some of the greenery
So-
on the other
Yeah.
lots, so you have
Yeah,
a
I've
green
actually-
corridor.
I've never gone back to the end of that parking lot to see what the greenery looks like.
Gotcha. And there's some nice trees back there, so I think a 20-foot buffer. It's outside of the building envelope, so I don't have an issue with
Is that a zoning line?
That's the zoning line. A small portion of this property is in the highway business zone.
So that's
could have a lemon-
described, right, in the
They could have a
description?
lemonade stand there.
that corner.
I do say in there it's split zone somewhere in the description. So what I will do then is on E, I'll note that a northerly property boundary, a 20-foot wide non-disturbance buffer. And that's good, it's adjacent to commercial. Payment of the park fee, $2,500. The covenants and restrictions, so no further subdivision of any of the lots, no lot line modifications without planning board approval, no new utility poles or overhead utilities for lot 2. Obviously, the front lot is not vacant, so whatever's there is there. 6 is the retention of the stormwater runoff and erosion control during and after construction. So there, that's where we're dealing with this, making sure that everything is contained on site, which is where this tip-off may rear its head during the review. Let's see, compliance with the driveway standards, submission of the draft declaration of covenants and restrictions, a mortgage consent if it's applicable, title certification, town attorney approval of the documents, the final maps, 4 Mylars, paper prints, and then submission and then filing of the maps within 62
I
days.
don't see any reference to split zoning. You want to
Okay,
double
then-
check it?
Yeah,
Because it should be in the description.
yeah, 100%, yeah. Oh, you're right, it doesn't say it in there. I will fix that. I'll put that in the description. the way I
Yeah.
have it. Yeah, that I think pretty straightforward.
And who's representing this?
The gentleman back there.
Do you have any questions, or?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay, motion to approve the, is this a pre-app
The
report?
final, yeah, it's, the final.
Final.
Final, yes, action deadline on Maple Residence. Motion by Craig, second by Gloria, and all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay. Anthony Lewis Road, planned residential development. Let me give
Oh, I'm
the
sorry, I
full
thought you were asking me a
title.
question, I'm sorry.
Formerly The Hills at Southampton, and the address is 149 Old Country Road and 149 Jagger Path.
But it's Lewis Road.
Yeah.
That's the address that's on
I
here,
know,
so is
I
that
just-
incorrect?
I just think it's interesting.
Oh, the address is Jagger Road, you mean? Huh,
You skipped, that's another address, it's Lewis Road, number 8.
am I reading something?
Yeah, there's that's Postanella that you were reading.
Oy,
Yeah, across.
The address is north and east of Lewis Road.
oh, that's 8. So where is that? I'm on the next page, I turn it over, and there's no address.
No, I didn't see.
Generally north.
And he said
Okay, let me, I'm
All right,
also,
let me correct the address,
Okay.
so that we have a correct thing in the minutes. Generally north and east of Lewis Road, in the vicinity of Spinney Road, and extending north beyond Sunrise Highway. There is no formal address for this,
There's so many properties that it would,
but I mean, the Lewis Road planned residential development has no specific address?
that's the way we've been describing it the entire time.
I think we should get an address. I
We
mean,
can get an address for the main site,
Yeah.
yes. We can put that in there.
all yours, Anthony.
okay, so,
Is it in the packet?
there's nothing in the packet.
Okay.
I'm gonna actually come up there, I just wanted to
Please.
reorient the planning board here. if the board might recall, as part of the approval, there was road abandonments that had to happen. What you have is, to the east here, I believe is what was the estates at East
Crockett?
Quogue. Okay, the old file map of the estates at East Quogue, which sits over here. This is where development rights are coming and being transferred, and this will all be preserved. And then it's Quogue Estates on the other old file maps, which are obviously closer here to where the development is going. As part of the approval, we asked the applicant to do they have to submit the road abandonment information, all the certificate of abandonment, in this case, map with all the information and the necessary legal documents, like we do in any other case. So this was very helpful. Wayne Bruin for the applicant is here. So on the Quogue Estates, which is the one that's closer to the development, they created a map showing what they own, and then they very nicely show on each of them where they're abandoning the roads, where they can abandon them. If they own on one side, they could abandon half. If they own on both sides, they could do otherwise. And you can see, Wayne and I spent a lot of time, there's a whole bunch of things going on here. So there was one map for that. And then to the east, which is the estates at Quogue, and that has multiple sections, they also produced the second map. It identifies the lots that they own, and then it shows grayed out where they're doing
Half the road.
the road abandonments. So
And what about the property within the development where you have the old file maps?
That's the first one.
that was the first one.
That's the first one, that's
Yeah.
in the,
Yeah.
Yeah, this one, Anthony's given you the formal names of the underlying subdivision map, but this larger one is all what's known as the Parlato properties.
the Parlato.
And this is you can see where Spinney Road goes in each section, but that goes north to south all the way
Okay.
across to Sunrise.
Yeah.
And so here you'll see
There are
some
a
of
couple of old file maps there, right?
Yeah,
The,
the 8 or so out parcels
yeah,
that
those,
are in the map.
where are they, Anthony?
Well, you can see, it's
not
really
shaded?
anything that's not grayed, so you can see the white part, here. So you can
Alright.
see their access on the road has not been abandoned or taken away.
So you still haven't found these people, right, who have these old file maps?
I can tell you, we have addresses and names, and I've written letters and talked to people, and just like old file maps, the origin of their title goes back to the early 1900s. Families left them to families, heirs, and in some cases, even if they wanted to, the cost of clearing title is more than the value of the property. So when we get involved, the first problem is who has the authority to sell? We had one family where we were talking to three siblings, and while we were talking, 2 of them passed away. And now there's other families. So, and then there's others that just don't respond.
Right, okay, I just wanted to see if there was an update.
And the key then, the reason why we have in this map is we wanted to make sure, and it was in every resolution that we did for this, is that any parcel, regardless of whether the lots can be developed, still has to have the even if they're paper
Identified.
roads, so.
Yeah. And Spinney Road is being.
States.
Yeah, we're not-
That's
They're not
not
touching
being,
that.
There's
that's
no,
not,
there's that
Spinney
question,
is,
sorry, just because it came up for the town board last Tuesday, someone was questioning what the plan was with that, and there's no plan to have it be anything other than it is right now.
States.
And it's a state road. Did you say? What's?
It's a town
Town
It's a
road.
town
Town
road.
road.
Town
Town
road.
road.
It's laid out as a town road in the early 1930s or 40s. And then when the Sunrise High, it was only a dirt road, providing access all the way from Lewis Road all the way to Flanders Road. And then when the Sunrise Highway went through, the town barricaded the portion, and there was no access granted by the state when they did the taking for the Sunrise Highway. And they barricaded that end, and the town also barricaded both ends where there was unimproved. And if you go, for example, off Flanders Road, and you go down that little bit of Spinney Road, you'll see a barricade there that was placed by the town. There was a barricade till about a month ago on this end. For some reason, the superintendent of highways took it out.
and that was originally barricaded because of the illegal dumping that was going on up Spinney Road.
Well,
So-
And the ATVs.
And
And ATVs.
and the liability.
And the
of
ATVs and the partying and, everything else, yeah.
So how we normally
But
do.
it's still, but Spitty Road is still a town road that
Yes.
could be used.
Yes, by the public, for walking,
Yes.
or wherever.
100%.
Yeah, this is not part of it at all, we're not touching it.
And so when we normally do road abandonments, we usually just have one little road abandonment. It's Joe Gaz's most of the time, and we have no objection. What I did here in the resolution, so, the first whereas just talks about what the project is, like we've been doing. Then the third whereas, as part of the aforementioned subdivision site plan approvals, the applicant was required to submit the final road abandonment maps and certificates of abandonment for the underlying old file maps and streets with necessary abandonment title certifications. And then the next one is on March 16th, we received this information, just so the board knows, I have stacks of certificates and meets and bounds descriptions and title stuff all over the place. So they submitted that, and I went through it, and everything's going to be forwarded to Christine. We reviewed everything. I find that we have everything that we need. So the first resolve refers to the abandoned map of Quag Estates, which is the first map here. And so I referenced this map and the road abandonments and the lots in there. I date when the map was filed, and we say no objection to the road abandonments on this map, subject to the town attorney reviewing and approving all the necessary
So
legal documents.
is that the Parlato?
This is not the Parlato piece.
The other one is?
The other one is. I'm sorry, I'm accustomed to this file map,
No,
name.
that's all right, but
Anthony,
maybe,
in the resolution, it might be helpful to just
put
put an
Parlato.
AKA
Parlato.
Parlato or
Perfect.
whatever, just so that.
I will do that.
right.
And then the second resolution is the same thing for this map. This has a lot more in there, is because it wasn't just the Quag State Section 1, it was, Estates of Quag Section 1, Section 2, Section 3. So I listed all of the maps that were part of this. And again, no objection, subject to all the legal documents being reviewed and approved by the town attorney's office.
So, again, Wayne, you talked about you did all kinds of outreach, and there's all kinds of things going on here. So as long as there's due diligence shown, is that enough qualification then to abandon the
To
road?
abandon them.
Well, we're abandoning, but we're leaving paper streets still there.
So there is access.
So they have their so-called
Right.
Yeah,
paper
landmark.
streets, but
Yeah.
So
we
you-
also have, as this board requested and the health department requested, in the future, when the map is actually filed, we have a covenant where we're offering to to grant an easement to an out parcel if they were ever approved by this board for development under the old file map regulations. Now, none of those parcels, at least in our development section, are large enough to do that, and let alone in close proximity to open roads utilities, where I don't suspect that you will ever do that, and I think that was in your findings. But that's just another aside. The other thing Anthony didn't mention is, there was an abandonment in the last couple of years
Oh.
where you did one, and actually that map
And this one.
for Dan Gabay, Gabay, and he ultimately abandoned his lot and part of the street, and then did a development rights certificate with the town. And then at the end of this map, right in the corner here next to the railroad, you approved an abandonment of portions of the streets, Bay Lane and Dunham Boulevard, for Joe Gaza. So there's been abandonments already of the streets
Right.
and lots by this board in these maps.
So Wayne, do you think you can get an address for this development? So that we don't have to.
Well, as Claire said, there's 178 different tax parcels,
No,
each
no.
of which have a street address.
Right, but
So
no,
which one do you want to
But
use?
your development, the Lewis Road, this,
Yeah,
Doesn't have an
which one
address?
do you want to use?
whatever you want to
Your
use.
choice.
It's your choice.
We'll figure out one.
We'll figure out.
I'm going to reference in this resolution with the change there, parenthetically,
AKA
the
Parlato.
Parlato and cracking, or
Right.
whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Any
it.
other questions? Okay, motion to adopt
I
By-
give you my sympathy.
I
by
know.
George,
For a
second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. It was a labor. Claire,
Hi.
American Legion,
Yeah, I think there's someone here.
number, page 59.
Yep.
So this is the property, it's in Pogwag Avenue in Hampton Bays, the existing American Legion. Can you see the aerial up there? The cursor, there's a
Yeah.
small addition proposed, it's about 760 square feet. It's mostly for, to install an elevator, ADA access to the building, and some storage in the basements. But it has to have site plan, there's never been a site plan on this project. I am recommending expedited with no public hearing, but it is a building that's over 75 years old, so we do have to get landmarks and ARB to weigh in on it.
Do we have a site plan?
Sure, and the next thing is the site plan. I'll zoom out a little bit.
When we did that, that monument at the front of the building, which I did when I was an engineer, we didn't, I guess there wasn't a site plan done for that?
No,
Really?
yeah.
Hmm.
Nope. Not at that time.
The good old days.
It wasn't that long ago. Yeah.
So this is the addition right here at 760 square feet, so. I don't know if there's anybody here for that. Oh, hi, how are you? Did you want to give a summary or just fine? We're just gonna deem it complete and do the referrals. That's my recommendation with no public hearing. It may be a 10-day written comment period. Does that
Yes.
sound appropriate? Okay. Any questions on your part? Okay, great. So I do have a resolution to that effect in the, I'll just fill in the dates, providing the 10-day written comment period.
You
And
said
do
it's
the
an
referrals.
elevator, to construct an elevator? Is it ADA compatible and?
That's what I understand, but we can. Just identify yourself for the record, too, please.
Eric, you want to be architect? So the existing, the long structure that's immediately behind there, that's where the actual hall is, where they have all the events that supports the Legion. And so it's about a half a story below grade, so there's no way for them to get in and to get down to the event level. So we're proposing to do on grade level to have an entrance that has a small lobby, bathroom, and then you're going to go down to the event level.
So there's an additional bathroom?
Is there additional bathroom too?
Yeah, we're putting just right at immediately at the entrance.
Okay.
What about
What about
the health departments and?
AI?
and-
So we went through the review process with them because basically this is not a habitable space. It's a lobby and an elevator. We're providing an additional bathroom just because it's just convenient that way to have it in a lobby. But because we're not adding any habitable space, then it wouldn't require, it's not increasing any kind of requirements that we would have to go through a health department process.
Do you have something in writing from the health department?
Yeah, we have something from them when we researched this a year ago.
Good. Claire, you need to get that.
Okay. Do you
And-
want a referral to the health department? Or you
Well,
just
they-
want to get something in writing
Yeah,
that,
if they're
like a
putting in a
whereas?
bathroom, I mean, this is not an exception.
Right, okay.
And the point is to make this accessible to people that currently can't access that.
Right, some of the some of the veterans are getting older and having difficulty get down there, and then when they have certain events, they're limited because people find out that they don't have that access, and it's just, they're losing revenue from that, so.
It's good.
Okay, so I'm recommending deeming complete and 4 referrals, including the health department.
And 10-day written comment period.
10-day written comment period, yes.
Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
thanks.
you.
Now we see the
Okay,
Now
Southampton
we see the
Country Day Camp,
Yeah, this was an interesting
page
project.
62, plus the reports that Claire gave
History
us.
map, get the break. Richard Wallace.
So, I'll just summarize.
Please.
Jackie and Tom and I went out on April 19th to the sites and provided by email yesterday some pictures that Jackie had taken of the sites of various portions of the site, including the sports courts and some other items. And then also we took a note of looking at the site plan, the conditions, what was completed and what hadn't been completed so far. So of notable, there was about 5 things that were more notable on the site. Do you want me just to summarize that?
Please.
Okay. The first item really was that there was supposed to be a fence on the north side, and you actually can see it even in the aerial where
Do you
the
have the
location
photos?
is. And the photo, I
You
can
can see it.
open it up. Oh, actually, it's a Word document, so let me just go to Word. Oh, why am I Lewis Road on the brain? Sorry. Thank you.
That's because of Wayne.
Exactly. Pictures. Here we go. So this is at the pool. There was a temporary tent support structure there. These are the playhouses, the playgrounds, more playhouses, the playground and the sports courts, and this is the fence. This is the fence that's continued along the west side, which was actually supposed to stop the sand court there. But it was
Goes all the way down.
Yeah.
All wraps around.
exactly. So it was constructed some kind of white vinyl fence instead of the original stockade fence, and in a portion of it, the stockade fence was supposed to go on a berm. It was 3 years ago, and my memory is terrible. I'm not quite sure why the planning board felt strongly about that, but
Sound attenuation.
yeah.
To help ameliorate some of the sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my memory
And
too,
that was a
so.
condition of the site plan.
And
So that
unfortunately,
is the one
plastic
thing
will
that's,
just make it echo.
yeah, that's the one thing that's inconsistent with the site plan. Everything else is a work in progress, or, can be rectified on the site. So, but that is the one thing that's, so that was number one. Number two was that the area is being used and was supposed to be revegetated. Number three is that there was supposed to be an area that was revegetated, and it's a sports court there now. The same thing for number four, the same thing, different sports court. And then number five is that there's some additional playhouses, which you saw in the pictures on the sites.
So, I wasn't there. What
Mhm.
I'm hearing is, it sounds like, not that it's not finished, but there are things that have been done that were not identified on the original site plan. So, they either have to update the site plan, or they have to update what the facility looks like, because there's an inconsistency.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation, yes.
Yeah. So the fencing is really critical.
Mhm.
We spent a lot of time specifying that, talking about it. So, Wayne, have you been to the site?
I have, and I have Tom Faulkner here, the director, who's on the property here with us to answer some of this.
Yeah, no, he was not there. Another woman was there with her cell phone.
Okay. So I just want to go backtrack a little, particularly for members who weren't here, but in 2020, just before COVID, the planning board approved the site plan. About several months later in 2021, the actual plans were signed, and this board signed the plans. Of course, no work really could be done for a good year and a half or so. A year ago, in April of 2022, we came before the board, and we're here because the section of the code that says you have to complete all your site improvements within 2 years of your site plan approval is expiring. So we came to the board in April 2022 and asked for an additional 2 years. The board chose not to give us 2 years, chose to give us only 1 year. And so we're back for an additional extension. However, before that was requested, we were asked to give you an update of what work was being completed, and which we did. And then you asked for an inspection, and so you've highlighted some things that you saw in the inspections. First and foremost, as Claire has indicated, and I think the board will acknowledge, that this is a work in progress. Just like any site plan you approve, at some point before we get the final CO, we'll have to comply with whatever's shown on the site plan, or as Gloria just indicated, or come back and ask for amendments to the site plan, which is not something that is unusual. You do it routinely. That being said, you identified some areas which I've discussed with my client briefly, particular temporary tents that are added or that are not shown on the site plan. If they're going to remain, then they need to come back and revise that. So we'll go back and examine those. With respect to the fence, as Claire just indicated, we all needed to go back, and I asked, as you know, there was a final environmental impact statement, there was a noise study, and then there was engineering review. And we went back briefly, and I asked David Wortman from VHB, and he needs to go back and pull these files. His first response was that the issue of noise mitigation by virtue of a fence or a berm wasn't even identified in the draft environmental impact statement, nor was it identified in your finding statements. And I think the fence came about later after the, you did the finding statement, then the zoning board acted, and then you came back for site plan approval. I think it was at that time the board wanted to see a fence along the northerly property line. And so just to give you, this is Major's Path, this is the northerly property line. And a 6-foot stockade fence was shown to run along the entire property line, and then where the slope changed, it was to veer out in this direction. So about 445 feet is a 6-foot fence directly on the property line, no change in grade or otherwise. Then the fence was to go in this location, which is essentially on the top of the hill. And I think it was the board's direction that 6-foot fence would help block noise. The issue of the berm and the issue of a fence on top of a berm, it is shown on the plan, but there's, what I could see, nothing that any directive on the part of this board that we have to put a fence on top of a berm. But more importantly, as the building department, when they issued the building permit for that fence, indicated, you cannot have a fence that exceeds the total maximum height on top of a berm. So that means if you have a 2-foot berm, you can have a 4-foot fence, or 3 and 3, or whatever the number is. The point is the berm and the fence can't exceed 6 feet.
Or get a variance.
Yeah, but this board could not approve that.
No, we
In
don't
which
give
case,
variances.
you didn't direct it, nor could you direct something that is not complying. So I think what happened here, first of all, the berm was not because of noise or anything else. The berm was required by Tom Houghton because this is the area where the field is, and the slope, he wanted drainage pools at the end of that field, and he wanted the berm to make sure the water was caught and put into the drainage pools. I think what happened after that was the engineer just put the fence on top of the berm. And nobody looked at it until now, except for when we applied, and the building department says you can't do that. They gave us a building permit, they gave us a certificate of compliance, amazingly, but the point is the fence. We clearly recognize that the fence is not the stockade fence that was requested, but it is a solid fence. It's of a material that will not need maintenance and replacement after a few years. So I think there was extra money spent in that regard. What we're actually here for is the extension of the site plan, so we can continue to get building permits. I would suggest that at least 75 or more % of all the site improvements been done. Health department, septic systems have been put in the ground. Things that are needed left to be done is the completion, including revegetation of areas that are shown on the plan. But there are permits that we're still looking for, in particular right now. What prompted all this was a permit request by the building department to put in the gates as well as some of the changing sheds. But there is other work, such as the replacement of this building up here, that our client doesn't intend to do at this moment. He'll probably do in the fall, off-season, next fall. So there are certain things, but as far as the site improvements, the whole plan is to get all those done related to that, except for those portions where those permits haven't been achieved. As far as the fence is concerned, my suggestion is that obviously before we get final COs, we should resolve that issue. I think both Claire and I need to go back in the record, find out, but certainly I would think the fence, 6-foot fence, no one's disputing there should be a 6-foot fence there. But the problem is putting the 6-foot fence on top of the berm. Neither this board could do it, and I would suggest that it should be a futile application to go to the zoning board to ask for a variance when we can comply.
Well, I'm reading page 22. The applicant has stated, the solid fence with minimal gaps will attenuate the sound. An additional 5 decibels and additional absorption material would not be of benefit for this application, as there is no concern with sound that may reflect off the solid wood fence back to the activity area and toward the interior of the camp facility. The applicant is proposing a berm in the location of the northern fence, a 3-foot berm and a 6-foot fence on top of that for a total of 9 feet. This will require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Planning Board supports the variance. So this was written
Who's that written
2
by?
years or so ago?
That's the staff report she's reading from.
So, I understand there was COVID and there was an interruption, but that work, at least, that was pretty clear, hasn't been done. Instead, a white vinyl fence was installed, and that is not going to do anything for sound attenuation, Wayne.
Well, a solid fence does. You just go on on the LIE, concrete walls are put for sound attenuation. So
That's concrete.
It's concrete.
Plastic
But-
echoes.
But which way is it echoing?
It's reflecting.
Back towards us.
Well, it's plastic on both sides, so.
Well, you mean the
Anyway,
neighbor's noise would be reflected
Wayne,
back to them?
we're going to try to resolve the fence thing, but I could say that this board was pretty clear about, and it's in the staff report, Claire.
So I would just
what was
suggest, the question
determined.
is, what if we were to go to the zoning board and they said no? Then what?
It's up to the zoning board, but we support what we wrote in the report.
Then you go back and investigate what else would help, which might be plantings, it could be other things, but at the time, this is what the board
Right,
decided.
tall trees, right.
And it was based upon information provided by the applicant.
Yeah.
So, I would agree with that.
So when we went to the site, and I'm sorry that you were not there in person, there's a lot of, you opened July 1, right?
May 15th, May 18th.
Is that for the tennis camp portion or for the summer camp?
Tennis.
Can
Okay,
you
but
come up to the podium?
Yeah.
You have to identify yourself too.
you can sit here if you like.
Thomas Coffey, on-site director at Southampton Country Day Game.
Okay, so, but the tennis camp has its own entrance and exit. I mean,
Correct,
it
yeah.
almost functions
Mhm.
like, and we saw that. Remember that, Tom?
Yes.
The tennis camp itself. The summer camp, where we spent most of the time,
Mhm.
opens July 1.
June 26th is the first day of campus.
That means you have even less time to do a lot of open projects. We were particularly taken with the amount of gravel that is around the camp, in the camp, on 40, 50-foot roadways,
Mhm.
right off the pool, and no grass. Now, I realize you're going to plant, but you've got less than 60 days
Mhm.
to do that unless you're going to bring in sod. I don't know what your plan is.
No, the idea is hydroseed. You can't start that until the beginning of May anyway. It's too cold currently. The grass won't germinate.
So you will have grass in those
So
areas?
that large field area which abuts that white fence, yes, that will be completely grassed by the time campers arrive on June the 26th.
Okay. And then, Tom, let's talk about that 40, 50-foot wide roadway that's
Yeah.
gravelled coming in.
Seems like, and I have not studied the site plan, it seemed very wide, the driveways.
It does seem wide.
And I don't know if that's what's specified in the plan.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Wayne. Obviously, we spent the last 10 years trying to avoid taking down trees and disturbing the area. I mean, Wayne pointed out that this was an engineering requirement for us to have a wider road inside the property because we have buses coming in to drop campers off. It's a one-way road. We had Squires and Holden, our surveyors, stake the limits of clearing. We then had the Rayner Group of Watermill stake the edge of the road based on this plan. And then we had South Fork Asphalt, which is a local company that I'm sure you know, carry out the work. So we've used local people to make sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure we stick to the plan. Now, it does look wide. If it is wider than it should be, then that can obviously be rectified, and there will be questions asked of those three local companies that we have contracted to do that. And
Can you
outline
tell
where it
us
is.
the width of that? We measured some roads, but not that.
We measured between the posts, which the
No, not
posts
that
are
one, the entrance.
22
The
feet.
entrance.
Yeah, so I mean,
On
it
the
does
oth-
show
the
on the
other
plan
side,
that
right.
where those posts are, it is narrow. That's why the gate is
Right.
there. It's the narrowest point of the road. And then
Right.
once you go into the property, it does fan out.
But yeah, Jackie's right, at that entrance point, and I think it was Danielle or
Danielle was there, yes.
Right, she was saying for two buses to be able to line up side by
It's-
side, she
yeah, it's
thought, or
all
whatever it
based
was.
on the engineer, what they wanted. If I'm being completely candid with this board, I did not want to rip down as many trees as we had and have that giant roadway in the property, but that's what we were told we had to do.
Right.
So your engineers would have developed that, right, and our engineers would have reviewed it.
Yep. And Tom Houghton has been, he's visited the property every step of the way this off-season. He's probably been there 5 times. We met with him to do a pre-construction walkthrough. South Asphalt and Perry Delalio, who I've been quite close with, he's been in constant contact with Tom. And obviously the Rayner Group, the reason we chose the Rayner Group for our SWIP inspections and the flagging is their previous relationship with Tom Houghton. To
So
make sure
you've
that we
moved
weren't-
some electric poles as well, or?
PSCG did.
We
Who
would
did?
like them to have been moved a little bit sooner, but yes, they were moved last week.
Internally.
Yeah,
Right.
we saw
Yeah,
that.
so for example, there were some in the roadway, whatever, so the PSCG came in and they
All right.
I think there were
relocated.
maybe a couple more that were gonna be moved as.
So I think you were there prior to the new poles being placed, so the new poles are actually in place currently. We're waiting for Optimum, who was supposed to be there. They were there yesterday, hanging up new cable vision wires. They were supposed to be there to take down their old wires, but a few spots of rain stopped them doing that. But PSEG will be moving the existing 3 poles that you saw in the middle of the roadway prior to the start of the summer.
So you say you open May 26th? Is that what you said?
June
June
26th.
26th, so you, yeah, okay.
So this will be a
Oh.
7-day-a-week job for you guys. My first wife ran a summer camp for many years
Oh,
out
wow.
here, and I helped her, and I'm sure you're gonna have 7-day-a-week the whole rest of the way.
It is not as relaxing as some people would assume it.
So what are we doing with the fence? Did we resolve it? We need sound attenuation.
Well, the question is we need to go back and find the source of that information, and if the only choice we have is to go get a variance, then that will take about 9 months to obtain. Takes about 5 months just to get on the agenda now at the zoning board. So there's no way I can give you a guarantee that the zoning board will do anything for that. But just like any site plan, we have to either take the fence down or get the variance or come back and get you to change your approval one way or another before we get all our final COs.
What about looking at those areas that we wanted berm and fence, were particularly in front of the houses that are there. So-
It's just this 120 feet
Yeah.
stretch right here.
But of course, the fence is built all the way around, Claire, right? All the way,
Yeah, it looks like it extends around the west side of the property too.
Right.
This is east and west
Yeah, the fence ended.
this way.
yeah, it goes all the way around,
This
yeah.
is
So that,
Yeah.
that 120, that's where I remember standing there looking, and you could see 2 or 3 or 4 homes kind of
Yes.
right over the fence.
So that's the area that we're concerned with,
Well,
and
there's,
so,
along the whole north, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 houses,
Right.
or 5 houses. And so the fence started up near Major's Path for 445 feet. It's at grade
Right.
along the property line. And then when the slope, as you know, that portion slopes down, the board wanted the fence at the top of the hill, not along the property line.
right.
And so that's where that is. And the berm came about because of the drainage.
Can we do any temporary fencing?
Can you accommodate that? I mean, do you need to go back and revise the plans to do that kind of fencing that we're asking for?
The stockade fence?
Yeah.
To
the wooden-
replace this
the wooden-
fence with the stockade
the-
fence?
Well,
will-
in
will
that
have to be
particular
moved to.
area where we had indicated it, is that correct?
How high is the
Can
berm?
I make a suggestion? Is
3
that
feet.
possible?
Well, the berm isn't there yet.
No, the
But
berm
even
was,
if-
We're
none
waiting
of
to
it was
get
put in, Christine, that's the problem.
direction.
It's not compliant with the
And you're saying you can't do the 3 feet and the 3 feet?
No, you can't
Three,
put a
'cause you can't.
6-foot fence on top of a 3-foot berm,
Right,
maximum
if you did a
6 feet.
right, but if you did a 3 foot and a 3 foot?
We could do that,
So the vinyl fence right now is a 6-foot vinyl fence.
correct.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Would it be possible to put it, we want to be good neighbors. I honestly believe that. What about putting a fence that you say is going to increase the sound attenuation on our side of the property, immediately in front of the white fence in this area? Would that help? One of our reasons for using the white fence is that aesthetically pleasing, unless Foster, who abuts the property, cares to disagree, is much more aesthetically pleasing than a wooden fence that is going to rot. If there is in fact science that says that attenuates sound much, much better, I think we would be willing to put that wooden fence in front of the white fence on our property, that then will attenuate that sound.
No, sorry.
Because
Or the other way around.
or the other way around, whichever you would prefer.
Yeah.
I think that is something we would be more than willing to do. If that's,
Why am I
That's
not
something.
following this? How does this remedy that?
I don't know how it would
Well,
remediate sound.
that doesn't remedy the 3 foot
The
on
berm
top of the
issue.
berm.
Right.
But of course, there's sound attenuating material that could be tacked right onto the back of
Well,
your
that's what he was
plastic wall,
suggesting.
your plastic fence, and
we
then
could do that.
a wooden
Or
fence
add a wooden fence, whichever.
on the other side. So essentially, you've got a sandwich,
Mhm.
and you could put a sound attenuating materials. There are lots of sound attenuating materials available now,
Mhm.
many more than they used to be.
It would just be a question of, I guess, which side of the fence, whether it is our side or facing the other side. Whichever would work best.
I think a sound engineer would know that best.
Yeah.
I know, I think,
Well, you want to put it on the side where the sound is, so it would be on the inside from the campsite to absorb the
That's,
sound. so to
that's what I
speak.
would assume, but
Yeah.
The other side of the fence is the private property owners.
That's right.
I assume this is on the property line.
Well, the
It's
area of
on-
the berm, it's about 100 feet at one point and 40 feet to where the berm is.
So that-
And this is all vegetated in between,
So that's still your property on the other
Correct.
side of the fence?
correct.
Okay.
on that portion where the berm was proposed.
Okay,
The
what
berm
was
was there because the open field there and the slope of the field to catch the drainage there to make sure it didn't go past that location and it stayed in the drainage pools.
Right.
then how is the drainage being managed if the berm isn't there?
Right now, the pools are just put in.
We have 5
Yeah.
pools now
So-
in front of that fence,
so-
as per the plan.
They held off putting a berm knowing that we might have an issue here. So, but they
So
will
the
put the
pool-
berm in, depending on how we resolve this.
Have the pools been put in so that you need the berm for the stormwater, or could you regrade that area so it naturally doesn't go beyond that?
I think I think we could do that, but I think this is Tom Houghton directing us to put the berm in for that purpose. And I think, you know, if you're an engineer, you might think it might be a little overkill, but either way.
All the pools have grading that lead into the pools currently.
That's what I'm getting
Do we have to stick to this 6-foot fence idea?
We have to stick with sound attenuating something,
Right,
which is what we were committed to do.
but can we attain that goal with 3-foot berm, 3-foot fencing of some sort?
I
Without
think
the
it was
need
the
to go
height,
into ZBA.
again, from where we were standing, I think that seems like has been the issue, is it's just not high enough from where
It's
you
quite
are.
low.
You're
I
kind
mean,
of
when you
getting
look at it.
the neighbors at their, eye level.
Why don't you
where
put
What
the
is
photo,
quite low, the berm?
Claire, put the
So-
photo
The 6
up.
feet is not quite.
So if you look at,
Oh,
so this location is a little higher and it
Right.
slopes, it slopes down like this.
Uh-huh.
And there is a gully, a lack of word, that goes down here where the driveway is, goes down all the way to the pond.
right.
So you have a slope like this. So if you put the fence down here, it does no good. So the planning board, that's why it's
Mhm,
different
That's why the berm, yeah.
up here,
Yeah.
and when it veered out into our property, even though this is all wooded and trees, this is at the top of the hill where the field is. So
So
that's,
the only way to remedy that would be to bring in more soil and compromise the existing grading and then bring it up and.
well, that was what the
Which is what-
proposed was first, to put the berm there to make sure the water
Yeah.
didn't continue to go overland into the, down the
Is-
hill.
So the berm in or not
Not
in?
yet.
I mean,
It's not
that's-
there.
It's not
Yeah.
there. So a berm could be installed and then a
Yes.
fence put on top of it.
Well,
As long as it doesn't
Up
exceed
to
6
6
feet,
feet.
unless we get a
in total
variance.
height, yes.
Is a
Including the
berm a structure in our code?
Yes,
It is.
and it expressly
Oh,
states.
like up to 6
Right.
feet.
A
So-
pond is not, but a structure, but a berm is, yeah,
So-
right? Go figure.
Well,
So-
there was just some new, there were changes to the zoning on how to measure
Height
height.
of structures, but
Yes.
berms are, there's a whole section in itself.
Right.
Who, in the initial application, was your consultant the one who advised about sound attenuation?
That's the part, and as Claire just read part of it, so I literally got
So-
these comments
so-
this morning, so I've asked
Okay.
It
VHB
sounds
to
like
come
this-
back and tell me
Yeah,
how and where and what that
So it
came
sounds like
about.
there's two things. One, a stockade fence was specified, you put up a white fence. Is that acceptable or not?
They're
And
both
secondly-
solid, right.
And secondly, in the absence of a berm, I mean, if you could, might have to adjust your site plan so that you don't need a berm if you could do the stormwater without a berm. And is a 6-foot high stockade fence or a white fence, if it's accessible, with trees planted behind it, does that provide sound attenuation,
Right.
sufficient sound attenuation to, maybe 2 rows of trees, You see, I know trees provide a certain amount of sound attenuation as well in the absence of a.
There is
total
landscaping to be
structure.
installed there as well.
There might be a revisit that and
What
see what's approved.
landscaping was proposed?
You can see some of the trees, the evergreens that were installed, they're in right here.
But just a few. I mean,
Yeah.
That's actually further south of, it's in the general area, but that's further south than the area you're talking about. The area you're talking about is north.
the problem
And there are
area.
two rows of evergreens in front of the fence. Then obviously you have the deciduous trees that are already pre-existing behind the fence.
So what is the best, most efficient way to solve this 6-foot map problem?
I don't think you're gonna solve it right now.
No.
No, but obviously the site plan, it's whether they're trying to get feedback from you and you may need more information, whether you'd be amenable to change the site plan, but I think you need information, right? What would achieve the purpose of the sound attenuation
And
if
the
it's
berm.
not what was approved?
Right.
Right,
Right, right.
so.
Right.
And we've got.
Or are they willing to do what's approved and go to the zoning board of appeals with your support, which is what it says in the staff report. So I think they have some thinking to do and then getting some information to you about what they want to propose.
And I would offer that we've got a summer season coming up. And personally, it would be great if something could be done for the sound this season, so the neighbors
yeah.
are not having to deal with
Well, the
the
fence is
issues.
in, that white fence is there. It's been there a couple of years now.
But
We
it
did-
doesn't do anything, Wayne. I mean, I
We-
wish
we
it
didn't
did,
have
but it
any-
No
doesn't.
complaints.
We didn't have any complaints last summer, I think for the first time in 10
Yeah,
years.
there've been complaints filed, absolutely.
None that have been brought to my attention on the property,
Well-
but, okay,
There's, believe me,
okay.
you know. So, what would you recommend, Claire? How do we?
Well, here's the issue is, you're raising is, right now, we need your authorization of the site plan again, so we can complete all this. I would ask that the board do that, and you can add a caveat that we're gonna have to resolve that before, COs are issued. The
What about
next-
all the other issues that we
Well, they
spotted?
would normally be resolved before the COs are issued anyway. I mean, the revegetation and the completion of the roads.
I'd be
and
strong
all-
arming them to complete it, just
I
like
would-
the plans.
I would
This-
too.
But the fence is obviously a rock and a hard place that but
Right,
you,
I mean, it's
but-
not compliant with the site plan, and had we not gone to the site, and I personally was shocked, I've renamed it Camp Gravel. It was astounding, thinking that you've got less than 60 days to do all of this work. I mean, I don't envy your job, believe me. It
Well, look,
is
I-
challenging.
The mild winter has meant that we did significantly more work this off-season than we would ever have been able to do with more than one snowfall.
Right.
I mean, as Wayne said, all of the septics are in the ground.
Yeah, we saw those, they're all in, we saw those.
And look, again, the gravel, we spent 9 years saying we didn't want to take trees down. I mean, it was this board that approved, or the engineer, and the board then approved the engineer's plans, and we've taken down what we were told we had to do.
Well, gravel and trees are two different things. I mean, there are pavers, there's all kinds of stuff, but. And so just in my own mind, and for Tom's as well, this very, very wide entrance, not the entrance itself, which is
You mean
fine.
the interior roadway?
Yes, the one
Yeah.
that goes to the right, that's quite wide. So that is to accommodate two buses side by side, is that it?
It was my understanding that it is code that if you have a vehicle driving inside the property, such as a bus, it needed to be as wide as a dual carriageway, two carriageways. That's my understanding of it. I'm not an engineer, but that is my understanding.
Yeah, you have a drop-off area, and then you have a travel way. So when you say side by side, so you have the area where they're dropping people off, and then you have to have the traveled way. So that was the engineering
So
purpose.
what's the width of that
Yeah.
road, Wayne?
I was looking for a dimension on here, and I can't really
It
see it
looks-
if you have a scale.
To me, it looked 30, 35.
40.
40 inches.
She
40
said
feet,
40
maybe.
feet, yeah,
Probably 40 feet.
yeah.
Yeah.
40.
It's
20
20 at the
plus.
gate. I believe it's 40.
It's
I think
40.
I understand the theory, of course, kind of like a
about
bus shelter. You have a bus turnout that the bus can pull over safely, let people out while vehicles pass it.
And it's a one-way road?
It just
through?
seemed very, very
Yes.
wide for that purpose.
It is one way. We've never proposed it.
Yeah.
Since
It's
I've
a
been
loop.
there in 10
It's a
years.
loop road,
Right, so
yeah,
it's-
you
Yeah,
come in
we've
and you
never
go
used it
out.
as a-
Bus-
Right.
I don't know
Bus
what-
travels under a standard 15-foot.
I don't know
If
what
you'll
it's-
notice, this parking area here, which is for administration and everything else. you
That's
can
where we
see the-
park.
The normal width.
That'd be
It's
24
because
wide,
only the bus is
24
in
Yeah.
here, which is, this
That'd be-
became wider.
yeah.
But it's two bus widths, so, I mean, I don't know,
Yeah, might I suggest that
And then
Claire
it narrows.
ask
yeah.
that question of Tom?
Yeah.
yeah.
Tom just pointed out that it's exactly what they proposed. He didn't have any special information about bus
Can we
width.
double check with
Yeah,
him?
Do you see
well,
what the width is
and
on
their
there?
engineer, obviously.
About 40
They
feet.
have Butler Engineering.
Okay.
Yeah. So-
And look, you have me on record. If
This is
it's
why it's
wider
kind of
than
a
it should be, I'll be the first
Close.
person to say we'll
Right.
reduce it because
Right.
I don't need any.
You don't
We
need any
don't
more
need
gravel?
anything. I mean, the gravel, to pertain to those comments, I know you made a number of comments to Danielle about the gravel.
Mm.
The gravel, the drainage for gravel is much softer than asphalt.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
listen, absolutely, not a substitute for,
It's-
you know,
it's
we want the
better than asphalt,
percolation.
But grass is better.
But grass pavers and grass are
It's
are
the-
much
it's the
better,
larger
particularly
gravel,
for,
but-
for summer,
Sorry?
for summer camp, you know?
So
So,
that's the final surface. That's,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
so why don't we leave it, Claire, that this be looked into. We're not going to extend anything. We need to get some compliance.
Why wouldn't you extend it? We can't comply because you don't have an approval for us.
Yeah, but you haven't complied with the site plan.
We will comply like all site plans before the CO is issued.
Well,
How are you gonna treat us differently than you do any other site plan?
well, because you have a timing situation. What would you propose? That we give you an extension?
The site plan. Why would you withhold it? You don't want us to complete the site
We
plan?
want it, then I would ask for a timed, absolute phased schedule from you. What's going to be done next week? What's going to be done May 20th? Absolutely, so that we can go and see that it's being done. I mean, otherwise, we're in the dark. You know, we go and then it's not done, and you're gonna say, well, we have to open the camp, and I'm sorry.
I mean,
you know.
what do you, if I may ask, what are you expecting, wanting to be done in the next 2
Wait.
months?
What if we do a 2-month extension, right? So you continue.
And what's gonna happen in 2 months?
You're gonna try and
You're gonna
resolve
resolve the
these issues and have a
fence.
plan where we're gonna
Well, not if
go.
we have to go to the ZBA, but.
Well, but then you'll come
Well,
back
why-
and
why-
say you
Go
want
in the
to.
ZBA, and
But,
they'll give
you
an
know, why
extension.
wouldn't you just try to comply?
They are.
I mean, what we would need here is some cooperation.
Wait a minute, you're saying all the
We would
construction
look
they
for
were
some
doing is not
cooperation,
complying?
Wayne.
And the cooperation is they're complying, they're constructing the site plan improvements. And now
But
you're
they are
holding them
not-
up because they can't
They're
put in the
holding,
gates. because
they're
you can't get a
holding
permit.
us up.
But if we can give them another, I mean, in total, they would get a year, but you want a check-in, you want so what if we did like abbreviated extension so that they would be coming in and saying, reporting what they've been doing and how they're curing it and what they're taking care of, so you have that.
Well,
And
we
then you
would-
can continue to, with the intent, if you're moving
If
along
you've
and
done
doing
that,
stuff,
then we
you'll
can-
continue to,
So it's,
Grant
that's a good solution.
But we've
But we
already
want the
told you there
fence.
are certain buildings that we have approval to change.
right,
Which we're not gonna do until the fall.
okay. So I think the issue
So-
right now is trying
Fence.
to resolve the fence and the berm. That's what needs to be done from the board standpoint, I believe, over
Yes.
the next 2 months. We need to resolve to that. And they're willing to extend it, they just wanna keep an eye on it and not give you a year, and then you go off and then this comes back. So I'm trying to think of a way that you can both get something that you
So
want
that's what I
and work
suggested,
about it,
as a
work it through.
resolution for an extension, but a caveat that we have to address the fence within a certain period of time.
Within 2 months?
No, within less.
I
They
mean,
open up in 2 months.
That's what I'm saying, so like,
Yeah.
well, it's like 6 and 1 half does the other, what's the difference?
Yeah, but when you say resolve it, what?
Have a plan, I don't mean
have
it
a
has
plan.
to be.
I think we
I
can
it
come
has to-
back and tell you a plan and see if it's acceptable to you one way or another, but I don't know if
Are you gonna get it
you're
done
gonna be
before
able to get
summer?
a zoning board variance and put a
I
new
mean, I guess
fence
it
in.
depends on what you mean by done.
I mean, Christine, I like where you're going, but I'm sort of seeing we have an interim challenge that we think that the plastic fence is not gonna have the sound attenuation. If there's something that can be done short-term for this season, at the same time have the applicant go and file with the ZBA a request for the berm and the 6-foot fence. So that's a long-term solution and a short-term amelioration for the community. It would be my recommendation and move forward with giving the applicant
The extension.
the extension.
And maybe they could come back in 2 weeks with an update on a plan for possible options for the fence here and how to
Absolutely.
go.
Like I
Well,
said, we
this-
needed to do the
The
research,
sandwich
which we only got
business
this
could
morning.
work.
Right.
I don't, if we're looking at the sandwich idea, I don't think it's gonna take a long time to put up an extra, 120-foot panels of
Yeah.
stockade
And
fence.
Right, we
To
just-
solve the short-term, this summer issue for the community.
We have to get some sound attenuation in there through the fence by hook or by crook. What were you gonna say, Claire?
Yeah, we would just need that information of what the sandwich is gonna do, right?
And could we maybe
But with facts.
get a little input from Anthony with regard to the ZBA process and if there's a way to expedite that?
No,
there's not.
he's got no power. No power with the ZBA.
No, I mean,
That was harsh.
You want my honest, you know, look.
On the record.
Look, the ZBA's months out from scheduling, and understand something. I just want to be very clear, and I'm not trying to cause problems, but a ZBA, we're going to have a hearing on this. Understand, we're going to have a hearing, and everyone's going to show up to this hearing.
Sure.
We're going to be having a hearing on a 6-foot fence and a 3-foot berm only. That's what the hearing is supposed to be on. But if things go out of control, I can't say that the zoning board won't turn around and say, we need to adjourn this, we need to get comments from the planning board.
Right,
So I have
right.
some concerns that this zoning board process could take longer than it should be when the only issue is a berm and a fence that the planning board is supportive of, and I would imagine that the public is supportive of too.
Yeah, all
But,
right.
you know,
So
timeframes are hard.
I think there's got to be some kind of engineering somewhat solution here. Buy the product, look at some sound attenuating materials. We put it in once, Bonnie Snichter was a sound engineer, and she worked with us on the shooting
Hampton.
range, where the police shooting range was, and there was a,
West Hampton Pines.
right, exactly. And that was extremely effective. It was berm, fencing, sound attenuation. Very effective.
There's a wall, yeah.
Yeah, very
Wall
effective.
So you want to do the approval for the year extension on the condition they come back in a month with some type of plan, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it is,
Mhm.
to take care of the attenuation?
Resolve the fence.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd say in a couple of weeks. Let's try to move it along. You guys just don't have a lot of time. That's what I'm thinking about your job, you know? There's a lot to do.
18-hour days are in his future.
Yes.
How long do you think you need, Wayne,
I
to come
can't,
back?
I'm not here May 11th.
She's not
I
here.
know.
May
Well, how long do you
can
think
come
you-
back in a month, which is
4
whatever
weeks?
that next meeting is.
So second weekend, second
25th?
meeting.
Okay,
then.
we'll give you an extension
The
till then.
25th, okay.
You can give them the extension today, and
Okay.
then, subject to them coming back.
So it'll be a
Extension is for
reapproval
a year.
until May 25th.
1 year.
A year on the condition they come in on that date
On the
with a
fence.
plan.
No, we're
with a
giving-
fence.
And then if they don't come in on May 25th, it expires?
Yeah, they don't have, then they don't have a condition, they don't, their approvals doesn't,
I thought we were giving extension,
2 months.
reapproval for just a month.
I think they were saying that doesn't work. They would prefer if we could, and it's really kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other, give it to them for the year, because this is moving forward. Give it to them for the year on the condition they come in 4 weeks. If they don't come in 4 weeks with a plan how to mitigate these things to your satisfaction, then they don't have an extension.
They
for
don't
the
have an
year.
approval, then what?
Yeah.
Then what are they gonna do?
Then they have to I don't know.
I
amend their
would
plan.
suggest that we could have something before then. I understand Claire's not going to be here, but we can send it to Claire.
Oh,
don't-
yeah, it was
I don't-
submitted ahead of time and we
Yeah.
can disseminate
look
it
at it.
more.
Just have to
So
have
you'll
it.
you're not going to see it for the first time on May the 25th or the 24th. We can have it to you much sooner.
Okay,
That's correct.
all right.
Okay,
Good?
do you feel comfortable with that?
How does the board feel about that?
It seems like a fair
Yeah.
amount.
I think we're doing a good job of making lemonade.
Right.
See, we're trying to work with you.
Appreciate it.
So you have to work with us.
Reapproval for 1 year from this date. April
But
27th.
but
Subject to-
reviewable in 1 month, subject to a review in 1 month, and that it would be withdrawn if the,
If we don't show up.
if the requirements, resolution for the fence are
Oh,
not
shoot.
resolved by then, okay?
Sorry.
And this would be the final extension you can get on the site plan, right?
Yeah.
Wayne, maybe you could.
Hopefully,
Wayne, maybe you
we'll
can
have
talk.
everything. The
Mhm.
intent is just those remaining items, those other buildings, that they will get those permits in the fall and they'll be done next off-season.
Maybe you can talk to Tom and see if there's some other mitigative measure they can use other than the berm, and then you'll just be dealing with the attenuation, sound attenuation issue there, as opposed to dealing with both of those issues.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It comes down to, as Claire is suggesting, is that somewhere it was suggested that there be a berm and a fence such that there was 9 feet there versus 6 feet. Because right now you have a fence with 6 feet.
Right.
Right, because the
But you're
berm,
hearing from
because
the
the
Notwithstanding
berm,
what the material
But you're
is.
hearing from the
But-
board,
but
whatever
wait,
resolves
but-
those issues is what they want. They're
Right.
not, 9 feet, it has to be 9 feet. If it resolves the water issue and it resolves the sound attenuation, they'll work with you.
if the berm were there, then it would all, then you wouldn't need, you still would need a variance.
Yes.
It's because
No,
the
not
berm
unless you
doesn't
did a
exist.
3-foot
It wasn't
fence. If you did a
If you did a
existing
3-foot
natural
fence, right.
If it was
Which
natural
you
grade,
might,
then.
you may be
no
okay with.
problem.
All right, I think the
just saying
language
talk to
is
Tom.
critically important, that, that this be, Claire, can we pull up to see if Bonnie Schnita is still in that business?
She's not. We
She-
checked the last time.
Did
We
we?
checked 3 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
she's no longer doing that.
There's another woman in East Hampton that
Yes,
does it,
in
that we
East
use
Hampton,
for
right.
something. I forget what it was. but she's-
Let us also,
Claire, if you can get
Take a
that
look.
to me, I'll work on it ASAP.
Okay, yep.
that's what we need.
Yep, more than
Thank
happy.
you.
Good, thank you.
Okay, would you like to pass the resolution? Reapproval.
Can you read it?
April 27th, 2024, subject to the applicants coming back to the planning board to their satisfaction on May 25th to address the fence on top of the berm and associated sound attenuation.
Or,
That's it. They have to, or they.
So they've really
or it
got a
expires.
month.
Subject to, yeah.
Yeah,
right,
or it expires.
Or
Or the
the-
site plan expires.
let's put that in, or the site plan expires,
Yes.
so that we understand that language.
Yes.
Okay, is everybody comfortable with that?
Yep.
All right, who's going to move it? Motion by
Motion.
Gloria,
Okay.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you. We'll be back as soon as possible.
Could you pass the
Yes.
munchies?
I'm gonna go.
'Cause I've been
She
short.
made brownies, homemade
Oh,
brownies.
okay.
Anthony, I was surprised to learn you have no power.
What's that?
I was
I
surprised
that
to
was
learn
She
very
you
was
harsh.
joking.
That was
She
bad.
was joking.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Jackie, I'm gonna be doing the meeting with you all tonight, so I'm just gonna go through my last few things with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
High Dunes, nice and easy now. Not a conflict. I know I sent this resolution separately, but here it is. Actually, I should keep going.
I always leave a little time on Thursday morning for you.
I appreciate that. Someone's gonna lose that for me. So, you all might remember, this is on Dude Road in West Hampton, the High Dunes condominiums. I believe this is on page 65. There might be a map and aerials in there, but I handed out the
Oh,
resolution.
yes, yeah.
So initially, they were coming in to
Gonna
do
re-
the siding and the windows, and then to replace decks, and then to expand the front decks by 1,300 square
Yes.
feet each, so pre-submission conference, the whole 9 yards. Subsequent to that, we had the pre-submission conference, nobody came out. The applicant then said, we're eliminating the expansion of the decks, and we're just doing in-kind, in-place replacement of the siding and windows, and then the decks on the south side of the building, and nothing else. So, actually, it was able to be done administratively at that point. But the thing is, Janice, we already had the hearing, it's already before the board. So I just said, let me just finish with the board. Marty's office has already looked at the coastal erosion and FEMA stuff, so everything's been done that should be done in the building department's end
Do
on
you know why
this.
they changed their mind about,
Cost.
Cost and materials, yeah.
because
Which is actually, you know, and what happens is once these things become, and you know, you're not lifting that condo development, you know, on piles. So at some point, you got to look at cost and whether or not it's going to create a FEMA problem for you. So, so in this case, I'm just recommending, it's a type 2 action under SECRA. This is on the first page of the resolution. An application for the coastal erosion permit is currently pending approval. They're just waiting for the planning board to sign off on this. So I'm recommending approval of this in-kind, in-place replacement, the renovations to the building exterior with new siding and windows for High Dunes condominiums and the existing decking, by the way, on the south side, subject to submission of the 6 copies of the revised plans. I just want the plans revised to reflect that it's in-kind, in place, and no expansion of
So
the
you
decks.
have more detail, do you not, on the administrative review? Like 80 windows? So
Yeah, it's
you
going to
have
be
all of
all the
that?
units. It's on all the units, actually, all 41 units. So I could say in there,
Please.
on all 41 units. So that way you know it's taking place in all the units. And then the notarized affidavit. I mean, that's all I would need to that.
Okay,
I'll move.
moved by George, second by Craig, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Page
Moved by Kristen.
number
Yeah,
16,
but
the
you
wine
guys are
room,
Continuously here.
page 98. I'm finishing up my stuff, John.
Is this really a bar? What is it? I'm curious.
No, well, here, it says here, for expanding parties to install new drainage, it says with a proposed change of use from a salon to a restaurant/wine bar.
Okay.
So here's, you raise an interesting question. They're already in there. They already went in there, they got a violation. They came to me, I told them you're gonna have to go through this process, we're gonna need parking, they gotta do all the site plan stuff. As to the use, I got from the inspector, you know, it's okay, it's a restaurant/wine bar, but we're gonna say it in the pre-submission conference report, because this just raises the issues. I don't know what that means exactly. Is it a single use with an accessory bar, a restaurant with an accessory bar? Or is it a wine tasting? I mean, it's, those are two separate uses with two different, you know, sets of issues. Right now, what's being proposed is a restaurant with a /wine bar. So I'm treating it as if it's an accessory bar to the restaurant, and I'm gonna see what comes out of the review, because right now, we did submit it to pre-submission.
It's old number 15.
It's old number 15. And right across the street from this in Hampton Bays, this is West Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays. Right across the street is the firehouse, to give you some reference to where the site is. And they submitted, you know, a site plan, and it's showing new drainage, new septic, expanded parking. So this is really just to schedule a pre-submission conference, and I'm recommending that we do that for
June 8th.
Is it in the reso like that?
That's what I have written down.
Then that's what it is, June 8th it is.
Okay, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second
Second.
by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor.
Next one's off the
Piece of
agenda.
paper.
Okay, what do I have next? Number page 105,
good.
19 Strebel and Klein. Okay, Strebel and Klein, we looked at this last time. This is the office site plan in West Hampton, right next to the post office in the hamlet of West Hampton, which is right next to the 7-Eleven.
I'm sorry, Anthony, 17's off, you said?
Was that, yeah, 17's off. So we're just looking at 19 Strebel and Klein.
Yep.
We, actually, this was just a 3,000 square foot, very nice building office. We had a pre-submission on it, and they went to the zoning board, so they had 2 public hearings. At the last meeting, we deemed it complete and scheduled the public hearing for June 8th. Subsequent to that, the applicant's representative got in touch with me and said, in light of the fact that we've had 2 hearings on this and no one from the public showed up, they've requested that, you know, we waive the public hearing with a 30-day written comment period. So I just prepared a resolution that, that the board agrees that we would just rescind the previous resolution as it relates to the scheduling the public hearing and waiving it with a 30-day written comment period. Very simple.
Yep.
Motion
Motion.
by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Kristen, can you hand me an agenda, please?
And the last one I have is number 23, which might have been number 22 on a previous resolution, is Howard Irrevocable Trust.
Thanks, Claire.
That's the one on Noyak Road with the legalizing the apartment.
Over the garage.
Over the garage?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do an extension of the action deadline for that one until May 25th.
Okay, May 25th. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Gloria, second by George, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
See everyone soon.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay.
Claire,
Back
you-
to Pasanelli, number 7, page 70. This was where the applicant was asking for a clarification that the conditions would be only subject to, as long as the property remained as a farm. So if you remember that, there was
Yep.
a public hearing on, at the last meeting for this. And I have provided just a little bit of an updated one. This original stated, yeah, it does say the planning board. So it's just slightly updated. This is the official copy.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding this, and probably to council. I've been on this board for 2+ years. I've never encountered a request like this.
Okay.
To help an applicant, there's no legal precedent that you're setting in doing this.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't want a string of applications with a bunch of if-thens.
No. Well, this is an extraordinary circumstance. I think the board understood, and they understood where he was coming from, and it wasn't contemplated, unfortunately, when we were first discussing it, so we were just trying to assess.
Okay, I just had to ask.
So basically, there'll be two resolved. One would be to amend the condition neg deck to reflect that this would be as long as the farm is in operation to yours, and you be the decider whether the farm is no longer in operation. And then also the conditions of the site plan approval likewise, so.
So you give the ingredients of the condition neg deck in the that whereas?
Yes. This is the first, yes, the whereas, the fourth whereas, I say what the conditions were back in October 13th. And then you had a decision that's based on those conditions, you had these certain conditions. So these conditions would be still in place, but only as long as it is an active farm as you determine it.
So is this an amended conditioned neg deck?
It would be an amended conditioning.
so-
I will file, that's why the resolved, it will amend it, and I will file it again with the EMB, so it's official.
Okay.
But this time it's going to say, as long as it remains an active farm, these
Right.
conditions will be in place.
And he didn't want to specify that it was a sunflower farm? No.
Yeah.
So your language here, your second language, submission declaration covenants for the following? I'm a little confused,
The
Claire.
resolves are on the
It's the
last two.
result on page
The
2.
last two.
Yeah.
You amend the condition neg deck. Okay.
The first time I read that, I was, why do
Yeah, it
you
was-
have two resolves? And I didn't, now that you've explained
Just
it,
two
it makes
actions.
sense.
Do you-
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, do you want to
technically,
do two actions or just one? You want
the
to-
one, I
One?
think that's fine.
Okay,
I think it's,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
self-explanatory
okay.
in here.
Any other questions on this? Any other discussion? Okay, motion to approve
Motion?
by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Meadow View Covenant Amendment
Yes.
at 265 Watermill Town Road. Hi, John.
You can sit up there,
You can,
John.
you can sit here.
Mike Shannon.
Yes, hi, Mike.
And so is Ben Chayla, the project architect, and Don Lester, the manager. And I'm John Bennett.
Page 75.
Claire, did you want to say anything, or should we?
Yeah, no, I'll
Okay, good.
speak first.
Okay, good.
Way back when, how many years ago was this, 87? The planning board approved a cluster subdivision, which had an agricultural reserve. And with the agricultural reserve, they specified the location of buildings on it. So this is what the map shows, and that's just a blow up of the map there. The applicant has submitted a request to relocate a portion of that building envelope for farm buildings associated with it. So I do have that map up.
Claire,
Yep.
just for completeness sake, the location of structures, allowable structures that was shown on the original subdivision map was previously revised. So this is the second.
This is the second revision. That's not the latest vision? This is not the latest plan?
I just want the board to understand that. That is the original area.
Okay.
That area got shifted over to, what is it, turned around, it's like the north? North. Yeah,
So what year was that?
96.
yeah, 96.
So it was originally 1987, and then it was revised in,
Yeah, 87 and then 96.
Okay, so let me put that as a finding.
Where is,
I know, I
where
just
is
didn't want there to be
the,
any confusion.
So
No.
it's-
yeah, no, the
Original.
record.
this is the original, so then now,
so where is it now on this plan? Again, it's difficult to see.
And just so you know, in the interim, they changed the
John,
setback.
can
John
you
Bennett.
identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I
Yeah.
already did. John Bennett for the applicant. Just, in the interim, they changed the setback for animal from 100 to 200 feet.
and,
So it just doesn't make any sense anymore.
right.
Right.
Um,
I'm sorry, Mike.
No, that's
Yes,
fine.
Mike, identify yourself.
Michael Sciano from InterScience on behalf of the applicant. Yeah, so the agricultural reserve, 1, just making sure I have all the numbers correct, was the area that was designated where structures could go. And between, it was changed between 86 and 96, or between these two maps that we have, I'm sorry. Since then, the town, as John just mentioned, increased the setback for agricultural buildings. So part of this area that we now have designated for where agricultural structures can go essentially means that we can't use it for agricultural structures because the setback was increased to 200 feet. This was not submitted as part of that, but it just is a map that our office prepared that just kind of provides you with a better visualization of where the reserve is that you can actually build in.
This is the 1997 reserve?
Yes, this is the most recent one that is currently active today.
Okay.
And so what we are proposing to do is take the area that is closest to the street, which we can't build in because it is less than the required setback, and move it to the landward side. I'm sorry, I'm so used to
Move
talking
it
about
in.
wetlands.
Move it in.
Further from the street, so that we can actually build there. And the plans that were submitted show that we're maintaining the existing setback of this building, which we're allowed to do under the
interpretation.
Under the interpretation from the chief building inspector. We're allowed to maintain that setback without it increasing the degree of nonconformity. So we don't need a variance for it.
And what is it that you want to build?
It's here, it's
expanded. So currently, this, Ben, can you come up anywhere?
And
then
by the
just,
way,
state who you are.
what we're here for is to move the allowed area of agricultural structures. We obviously have to come back in for site plan and everything, but it's a chicken and the egg thing. So obviously, even
But
though we.
are you expanding it, John?
Oh, yeah.
You're expanding the agricultural area? I mean,
Well,
the building
not-
portion?
It's moving, but we're not, it's the total amount of square footage is it remaining the same?
For the agricultural reserve area, it is not getting larger. We are taking area out here that we can't use, and we are moving it to
tacking
this-
it onto
tacking
that?
it to that side.
So the configuration changes?
So the configuration changes, yes.
Can you help orient me? I know this is what it is, Seven Ponds Town Road. There looks like there's a road on the bottom of this that I can't read?
That's Edge of Woods at the bottom.
Okay.
Ben, just say your name.
Yes, I'm sorry, Ben Chaliff, Chaliff and Rogers Architects for the applicant. So the proposed structures within that
There are
proposed shift, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are houses,
There are residential lots on Long Seven Ponds Town that are excluded from the agricultural reserve.
But I think only one of them is improved, no? Yes?
Yes.
One of
This
them
one is
under,
improved?
under the Riggio's ownership.
Right.
yeah, now I know where you're talking.
Okay, so you've got,
It
so,
just helps me to
Sure.
see it where it is.
so how much closer to the first house in this subdivision will you be by moving this?
It's not,
It's still very far away.
The first house in the subdivision.
you mean that, this
Yeah,
corner
this
lot?
one, yeah.
I mean, you can see it, it's,
No,
Oh, the
or-
ones that are underneath this label here?
Well, we're not increasing, we're not decreasing the setback.
So then this lot here,
The structures.
oh,
No, that
We are
one-
not gonna be
that
closer
up
to
there.
either one of these, because
there?
this, we are maintaining this setback.
Is that a lot, what is that? Is that a lot up there? No, north of
What
the
about-
buildings.
Oh, north of the buildings, these are all, this is all part of the,
Paddocks.
these are paddocks for horses.
Okay. So this is a
Where
horse farm?
Where is Seven Ponds Town Road on this?
Right here.
Okay,
So
Okay.
this is north.
Okay.
thank you.
So what are you putting up now, stable for horses, or
Yeah,
what?
so they,
Explain to us.
they currently have an existing combination indoor riding rink and stable in one large metal barn, which does not meet their needs anymore, and it's outdated. So this is proposing to basically split them into separate footprints where it's one large indoor riding rink and separate stable.
where are the existing buildings though?
The existing building is, is that what's
Listed on
in the
the-
red?
Oh.
It's basically underneath the
Ah, okay,
proposed
so it's under that.
riding rink, right? And that's the, yes,
Yeah, here it is.
northern property, northern wall that we're keeping essentially in terms of setback and but shifting and increasing east.
That's the existing indoor.
So right now, it
Oh, okay.
comes and terminates at this
I got
red
you.
line that is here.
Yeah.
It
I
stops
see.
there.
Right, and they're flipping the piece that was by the road
Oh,
inland.
that idea.
Yes.
Where that's a new building going up.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yes.
How big,
Yes.
how large is that?
The stable part? Square footages, I'm trying to remember now.
Do you want this, there you go.
Trying to remember here.
Got too much. Glad you're doing it.
Very nice to prepare plans, but
Yes, the numbers, Donald?
Square footage?
I'm sorry, we were so prepared to talk about the covenant.
Yeah, right.
Change it.
It's, well, okay, it's, the indoor riding rink is roughly 100 by 218, so, 21.
21,800.
22,000 square
22,000
feet.
square feet.
And, the stable is more like, let's see,
Back of the envelope.
yeah, 8 to 9,000 for the stable, including office and a lounge and other associated uses.
Housing?
Excuse me?
He said housing.
Well-
No housing.
We're looking into that.
Yeah, well, it's, what's interesting, it's gonna, I don't know, but all this, no, not now, but all this is gonna depend upon some litigation that's happening in the Sagaponic. Because the town for a long time said that's not a residential use. I mean, and there's nothing planned now, but just for
Right.
general
Yeah.
purposes and information, so town for a long time said accessory to agriculture is not a residential use, and a couple of town board members differed. But there was the same thing happened in Sagaponic, and now that's the subject of a lawsuit, and the town and Sagaponic made a motion to dismiss it, and the judge didn't grant it. So, interesting, it's still a state of flux, but there's no
Okay.
current. nothing
No,
planned,
I mean, I
nothing
don't
planned.
see any issue with this. I think it'll work. Anybody have any problems? Any questions? So are we amending a covenant? Is that what we're doing?
No, we're-
I think we'd suggest a public hearing.
yeah,
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's,
yeah,
And a referral to the Ag Advisory Committee.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just so somebody can give me notice of when they're going to hear it.
Yes, so we're planning,
You
the
don't ha-
availability on June 8th.
yeah, because
June 8th.
you don't have a date on the,
No, the ad.
No.
On the ag.
Be-
They're
yes,
meeting
because I'm
monthly?
like, it's always a work in progress, right?
Oh,
Who
yeah.
gets you first?
It is, okay.
So hearing for June 8th.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thanks, I think it'll be quite beautiful. Say hi to Dad.
Well, they're extremely good stewards of the property, as they are of their wonderful residents in Bridgehampton, as you know.
Mhm.
I drive by there probably twice a week.
The Ocean Road, Bridgehampton?
No, no,
Oh,
this, at the edge of Woods Road part.
Beautiful property.
It's one of my favorite back roads into Southampton Village.
You're designing it?
No, I'm not. There's a
What?
specialty architect in
Who does stables?
Virginia that does this thing specifically, so they're very wise to hire someone
Yeah.
who can
You know,
consult this.
There was a very there was
You
a
guys
very,
were only
No,
doing
absolutely.
small houses
Right,
now,
but
according to your father.
Sometimes, most of the time, I should say, yeah.
there was a, there's a beautiful stable in Bridgehampton, but it's really deluxe. And there's an indoor, air-conditioned riding thing. Diana was managing at the time, we went for a site visit. He said the horses don't want to go outside because they're so comfortable in there. Only in the Hamptons, right?
They don't get it.
No, I mean, they had outdoor, beautiful outdoor, they liked it inside.
It's too hot outside.
They liked it inside.
You can get a sign.
They were the most spectacular horses.
It's like, I remember a client of mine saying that she asked the person who was taking care of the house with her,
Mhm.
you know, she knew anybody who did do any ironing.
Yeah.
And the person taking care of the house said, no, but if you find somebody, I could use them too.
Only here, only here. All right, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Be nice.
Thank you, have a nice day.
Which one?
18?
You mind if I just stay here?
Or-
Are you
I
up
missed
next?
that.
Your blessing fields?
You have to stand up and sit down.
Did we do 18?
The mobile home park?
No.
No.
So we're up to blessing fields, Claire?
Yes. That one I'm recommending completeness. It was, secret was already completed. Set a public hearing because it's a special exception.
Okay.
We can do June 8th, but I was kind of planning on doing Tesla on June 8th too. Can we do 5 that night, or do you feel too crowded?
That's a lot. Who
Four
are
is-
they?
Who are they? The
What are they?
wine room, yeah. And 200 North McGee, and then Meadow
That's
View,
gonna be
which we
long.
just we're setting, right? With,
200
did we
North
pass
McGee.
the resolution?
We did, didn't we? We did.
Yeah, we did.
Did I take a vote?
On which one?
This last one?
I
The
don't-
Meadow
covenant?
View in order to set
I
the
don't
public
think so.
hearing.
No,
Maybe I didn't.
We didn't take a vote.
We talked, but we didn't vote.
You didn't take a vote, okay.
Talk about
Okay,
what-
so
Let's do that first.
let's take a vote.
Yeah.
Okay? We pass this covenant amendment,
Yes, to schedule a hearing for the.
schedule a hearing
For the
for
covenant.
June 8th.
Yeah.
Motion, George, second by Tom, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
I think you should put this on the next one. The blessing.
15,
field.
20 seconds.
What should I
On the
do?
25th?
Do it on the,
Just for the sake of throwing it out there, this has been, this had a pre-submission conference hearing. I know we have to do a hearing because of the special
Yes.
exception, but we had a pre-submission conference hearing, and I think 2 or 3 hearings with the zoning board, and no one showed up for any of them. I'm not saying that they're not going to, but I'm just throwing it out there since I'm already gonna be there. So, but I understand if you can't.
so what's the date after June 8th?
That would be the 22nd.
Okay, so June 22nd?
Okay.
Okay, so on Blessing Fields, 163 West Montauk Highway, schedule, it's complete, and schedule a public hearing for June 22nd. Motion by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Great. Okay.
You the next one, too?
Great.
Yes, Long Island Resource Tesla. That one is virtually complete, but we're still waiting for some town engineer. I spoke to John Bennett, and he is saying he can get all the town engineer issues worked out. It's an existing building.
Yeah,
So
same
there's some,
building.
you
Yeah,
know, they're
we've
doing
seen
some
it.
work on the property, but it's not a redevelopment or something.
Okay.
Claire, in the report that was in the packet,
Yep,
it says site plan have, parentheses, have not.
yes, so
And
I
then-
prepared that resolution for you on Friday.
Okay.
But I didn't have the town engineer, so I don't know if it's gonna be complete or incomplete.
Okay,
Yes,
so-
that's why, if you see that, it's just a little too early for me to make that determination yet.
Okay, so,
I'm gonna change that, and it's gonna
well,
say,
so do we?
is complete. Or in this case, I'm gonna say pending the town engineer sign off prior to the hearing dates, because I want to make sure we have everything we need to do this. So I'm gonna specify that we're waiting for town engineer to be,
So it's complete, but
but the town.
that quote,
Okay.
and we're scheduled a public hearing for June 8th.
June 8th, yep.
Okay.
It's minor stuff. We'll get
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
John Bennett, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, good, thank you, John.
thank you. Fast. Nice to
One
nice thing.
is done. You're done, right?
I have one more, but it might be a skip.
East Quad Mobile.
East
East
Quad
Quad
Mobile
Mobile.
Home. It's,
Can I take a motion on that?
oh, yes.
Oh, shoot, yeah, that's a smart
I did.
idea.
Didn't I?
No, no motion, right?
You gotta vote on the motion for June 8th.
We're falling
For
apart.
Tesla?
Long
I
Island
thought I
Red
did. It
Cross.
was you and Craig,
moved
all
it.
in
Yeah, you
favor. I
moved
moved
You
it.
moved it,
That was
but
the
we
one,
didn't
wasn't that the
vote.
one prior? This one is
This one.
for,
Blessing Fields it was.
Jackie, you need a motion for the Tesla.
I need
Yes,
the
yes.
Tesla, yeah.
Yeah.
I need the Tesla, sure.
Thank you.
So it's deemed complete except for your thing. Schedule a public hearing. Motion by
Craig.
Craig and.
Craig and second by
I'll second.
George.
And that hearing's June.
And all in,
Right.
June 8th.
and we're all in favor.
That is not,
Yes.
no. Oh, yeah, that's June 8th.
That's the June 8th.
I'm sorry, too many projects. So East Quad Mobile Home Park, that we are going to deem incomplete. The town engineer has a number of items. I have a number of items. I have my checklist. John, I'm sorry, I don't remember if I gave.
What
you
number
a
is this
copy.
now?
I didn't see your
18.
checklist. Claire. I
18.
just saw the-
18. So this is Strebel and
No,
Klein.
no, this is East Quad Mobile Home.
Park.
That's been a while since.
You know,
You have to read it too, right? Into the
no, I
record.
have all of this agenda on loose pages and I keep, they're getting out of order
Yeah, I think,
and they're
yeah,
renumbered.
maybe we can get the agenda stapled, so we don't have.
Staples, it would be much
You know
better.
what I'm gonna request on this?
You're not deeming East Quad Mobile Home Park complete.
Right.
You know what I'm
Okay.
gonna- you know what I'm gonna request on this? At the zoning board of appeals meeting, which they granted all the relief, there was a fair amount of public comment. The engineer stuff is gonna be worked out, whatever it is. We're gonna have to, you know, come to some sort of agreement on it. I think a public hearing on it would inform some of your decision-making on this, because there was concerns about location and stuff like that. Hear from the public. I'm not saying, obviously, I can't get an approval from you until I work out the engineer stuff and I
Right.
work out the other things. It's on for June 8th. Selfishly, I'd like to have one more hearing, so I don't have to come multiple times.
Nicely played.
But obviously, I'm not, you know, I have to come to terms with the engineer's reports and Claire's reports, but there were comments at the zoning board of appeals meeting. You might want to hear from the public, it might inform your decision-making. Again, it's not, and it might create changes, and I'm gonna engineer, and then we might have some changes as a result of that. They said, they gave us, we're replacing number to number units, but there were some comments about placement and stuff like that. You may find them prohibitive. Why would I further the engineering and the other comments until, you might want to just hear from the public.
Okay, so Claire, we have a date, right?
No,
No.
I would not.
Okay,
You have to
well,
do secret.
it's up to you.
Oh, we have to
You
do,
have to secret on this
No,
one.
the secret,
secret
again,
determination.
that may inform your your determination on that. There's no downside to hearing from the public. I can't get.
I always like to,
Follow the
but
process.
procedurally, we can't.
Well, if he wants to
Sure,
waive
sure
the
you can.
fact that secret should be done, there's a part of the code that says secret has to be done before completeness. Now, if he wants to waive that,
Yeah, I don't care
understanding
about
that if we get to the hearing and the town engineer does not say complete, we either keep it open or deem it incomplete.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
But you'd have to, on the record.
I'm not trying to, of course, to
Waive
consider it
secret.
waived. I'm not trying to leave.
No, no, no,
any
not
of that
waive
stuff.
secret, just, it's not complete until.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Keep it
knowing
open.
that we have a time frame for that. Because I haven't broken open secret yet. 'Cause there
Okay,
was some-
so,
there's some items that
so
were
how are
there.
we writing this?
It would be the applicant is granting the extension of the part of the code that says secret has to be done before completeness.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I can't ask you to do something like this, but then try to pull an aha on your
Right.
secret. Of course not.
Okay,
Come on, John, you could always do that.
all right, so we're
I
gonna
wouldn't do it
do,
unless I thought of it later.
so it's
But
not,
the June 8th, the other thing is the June 8th, that would be 5.
yeah, so
And
let's put it on to June
There's public
22nd.
interest.
Yeah,
He
so
just
I would-
submitted-
Let's do June 22nd.
22nd.
Ah,
Yeah,
I'm being selfishly trying to, you know.
I know, June 22nd. Okay, so we
That's
are,
very nice.
So Claire, you rewrite.
I'm
the-
gonna write that, so it's gonna, instead of saying secret's been done, the applicant has granted
A public hearing.
Because it's his
Yeah.
Right,
to be done, so.
June
yeah.
22?
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, East Quogue Mobile Home Park.
Thank you.
Okay, so motion by Gloria, second by Craig, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're still at 10 days? Did they change it? 10 days
For what?
for notification? Was it 10 days before?
Yeah, to
Yeah.
correct, yeah.
Thanks.
We will let you know.
Thank you.
No problem.
Have a great
Thank you,
weekend,
John,
everybody.
you
Thank
Bye,
too.
John.
Thanks, John.
20?
Yeah, 20
19 was
is
done,
an
20.
extension, 1-year extension of the I'm sorry.
No, well, is it, now, is this the Domena?
No.
Or it's the 115?
Correct.
Okay, we're working with 2 different agendas. No wonder it's
okay.
confusing.
Gotcha. This is an extension.
115 and 127 Halsey Lane, and that is the address. Extension to,
1 year.
It says
For 1 year.
Why does it say
From where to
180
where?
days?
I don't know.
1 year from today?
That's not 100, that's 365
365 days.
That's a half a year.
I'm sorry. It is a reapproval of the lot line modification, which is good for 180 days.
Okay.
It's
So it's
not a
an-
typical application.
So it's an extension for 180 days.
Do we have
Yes.
to name the date?
We should.
So you're going to reapprove it as of April 27th, which is today, and it'll be valid for 180 days.
So we're
That is-
reapproving it today.
Correct.
Oh, so it's not an extension? It's a reapproval and an
Right.
extension, right?
Yes, it's reapproval. Reapproval, and it will be valid for 180 days.
Oh, I see, so, okay.
Not really
So we're
extension.
reapproving 115, 127 Halsey Lane for another 180 days. Motion by Craig, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you, yes. The Mena Horse Farm?
Yeah, that's an extension
That is, yep.
for, look, what are we, what's the extension date, Claire?
Yeah, I don't have
Nothing.
anything written
No.
down, so there was nothing
No.
for me to read.
2 years? 2 years?
So this is
Wayne
saying
is saying 2
reapproval.
years.
Yeah, your resolution says reapproval / 2-year extension.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. It's gonna be a reapproval. It expired on April 8th, 2023. The applicant did request the reapproval by letter, and I had to fill in the dates. And this would be an extension request as of today for an additional 2 years for the site plan.
Okay, you'll give us dates?
Yes, and then it will be until 2025.
Oh, God. So Domena Horse Farm, 586 Head of Pond Road, we are reapproving and extending for 2 years to 2025. Motion?
Motion?
Motion by Gloria and second
Second.
by George, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, extensions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay. Puccio Laundromat?
Yes, and this is a 1-month extension of the action deadline till May 25th.
1 month extension. To what, Claire?
May 25th.
To May 25th. Motion for Puccio Laundry, motion by George, second by Gloria.
We're all in favor. You paused there, we're all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye, all in favor. I'm sorry. You know, I'm just so confused. We have to get the agenda done very differently. This is crazy. And so all in favor?
Of what?
Yes,
What we just
The
did.
Domena Horse
The Domena
Farm.
Horse
I
Farm.
thought we all
Yes.
said yes.
you did say.
Okay, all in favor, I said,
Puccio
so
Laundromat.
5 in favor, 2 absent.
That was for Puccio.
Yes.
That's what put you, yes.
So site plans, you've got the bridge.
Well,
Is
I
off
could-
the agenda.
Yeah,
Bridgehampton Commons.
She signed
Okay,
it?
I signed Bridgehampton Commons, A&E Club, and Christopher Mead.
Okay, so we're acknowledging the signature of Bridgehampton Commons A&E Club and Christopher Mead.
Yes.
Christopher Mead is a walk-on, right?
Yes,
That is
that was a
correct.
walk-on, right.
And we did not address minutes at the beginning of the meeting. It was actually not on the agenda. And Kristen,
Okay,
assuming that that last piece was corrected, the April 13th minutes are
I think we're done.
You want to approve the,
Approve the minutes.
Okay, motion to approve April, what was it, April 13th minutes? Motion by Craig, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
5 in favor, 2 absent. I think we've done it. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Gloria, second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor. Kristen, can you just stay for a second so we can go over some logistics with the, I'm looking at 3 agendas.
Kristen or Christine?
Kristen.
Kristen,
These are the best things I've ever tasted today.
which ones are
Okay,
they?
what?
Are they
Dark
sugar-free?
Sugar-free,